Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto goes to the day of ninja graduation exam and show his real power part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Fox Brats and Second Chances. In Konoha's Hidden Leaf Village in Anbu, with a cat mask sighed as he stared into the apartment of one Naruto Uzumaki. Cat knew that keeping an eye on the village Jinchuriki was an important job, but it was just so dull. The boy would jump out of bed, run to the academy, try and fail to make friends at the playground before resigning himself back to his house for the rest of the day, unless of course he was going to meet with the Hokage. So as Cat waited for the blonde to jump out of bed like he usually did, he was quite surprised that when he did finally wake up he was muttering a slew of curses, a few of which he didn't even know himself. Never mind, Cat thought, Uzumaki duty might not be so boring today. Where the hell am I? That was the first thing I asked myself once I got out of bed that morning. The first thing that I had noticed was the state of the apartment I had ended up in. The whole place was ravaged and run down, and ramen cups littered the floor. The second thing I noticed was that I had shrunk a few feet. At my current height I could only be about 8 years old. But the third thing I noticed is what made my heart stop. Out the window I could very clearly see a large mountain, a mountain that had 4 familiar faces carved into it. Shit, I thought, panicking. This is Konoha, I'm in Konoha. Then I thought about the state of my apartment, and quickly ran into the bathroom to check the mirror. Fuck. My suspicions were confirmed when I looked in the mirror to find myself looking at a boy with golden blonde hair and whiskers on his face. Kami, damn it, motherfucker. I slapped my hand over my mouth. Kami, damn it. I asked myself, where the hell did that come from? You know what? Never mind, it doesn't matter. First order of business is to go to the academy. I blinked. How the hell do I know that? I then remembered that an old man, presumably the Hokage, had told me that he was signing me up for the academy when I was 7, and I'd have been going for about a year and a half already. Well, that was weird, but to be fair, this whole situation is weird and confusing. I left the bathroom and quickly got changed into a white t-shirt and shorts before I left. When I did, I was blown away. The anime couldn't begin to describe the magnificence that was the Konoha. The buildings had no set look, and each one was vastly different from the one next to it. The different colors and architectures blended together into something magnificent. I didn't stand there for long, however, as I had run off to where I somehow knew the academy was located. I growled softly, I'm going to figure this out if it's the last thing I do. Believe it. The Ninja Academy isn't that different from regular school. The classes are different, sure, but essentially it's the same thing. Kids of ages 5 to 9 enter the academy, and you stay there for a total of 4 years, 2 classes for each year. Which makes the fact that so many clan children became genin at the same time make a lot more sense. But that's besides the point. In the academy there are 10 different classes: taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu, history, weaponry, lunch, math, reading, chakra theory, and either kunoichi lessons or a free period depending on your gender. How I knew this was still a complete mystery to me, but I'm sure I'd figure it out eventually. Anyway, as I entered the academy and chose an empty seat, the reality of where I was had finally sunk in, especially when I saw a cute mini Hinata. I gave the small girl a small wave and flinched when she turned red and fainted. I guess that she's already fallen for the old Naruto then, I thought. As I waited in the large classroom, I smiled as more and more tiny rookie 9 members entered. A short pink-haired girl shyly trailed behind a much more enthusiastic blonde, followed by a slouching Shikamaru and Choji, who was happily munching away on some chips. I smiled. First order of business is obviously to make some friends, and if my hunch is correct, I really doubt Shikamaru or any of the Nara clan would really care that I'm a Jinchuriki. It's probably too troublesome. I snickered at my own joke before turning to Choji, and wherever Shikamaru goes, Choji will follow. Not to mention, being friends with 2/3 of the Shuleinocho trio is bound to get me some meetings with Ino, and while I doubt we'll be friends, I'd rather be on good terms with her and Sakura. A few minutes later, a small group of boys walked into the room. Leading them was a mini Sasuke, clearly bragging about something, but after overhearing the word brother I knew he was talking about Itachi. I frowned. I know that the massacre happened before Sasuke left the academy, but there's no way I could ever hope to prevent it. I'll just have to find a way to make Sasuke my friend before the massacre, and try to make him less of a prick after the fact. I was brought out of my thoughts, however, when I heard a small cough next to me. Standing there was a miniature version of Shino, easily recognizable by his trench coat and glasses that were just a smudge too big. I would like to ask for you to move. Why? Because that is where I normally sit. I blinked once, then twice. Oh yeah, sure, sorry about that. I quickly moved to the seat next to me and Shino stared at me quizzically. You seem different, Uzumaki-san, he said. Why? Because you aren't usually this quiet, nor do you sit in the back of the class. I figured people would notice the sudden attitude change, but I figured I'd be Irika or Gigi, not Shino. What can I say? I shrugged, wanted to do something different. Shino nodded, having apparently accepted the answer, and I went back to my people watching. However, almost all the important people had already gotten here and I couldn't find Kiba anywhere. No, wait, there he is, I thought as a small boy in a hoodie entered the classroom mere seconds before Irika-sensei appeared in a puff of smoke. I sighed inwardly after thinking about it during the walk here. I had finally been able to figure out how I knew some of the things that I knew. Since I had been reborn as Naruto, it only makes sense that I'd have Naruto's memories. And this theory can be backed up by the fact that as I go throughout my day I start to remember things. Trivial things like what I had eaten yesterday, ramen, or what the weather was, sunny. As for my newly acquired quirks, I was still thoroughly confused. From what I could piece together, it seemed that I had a strange combination of both my personality and intelligence with Naruto's appearance and hobbies, which included pranking, his vocal tick of believe it, and strangely enough a new appreciation for the color orange. I'm still not putting on that jumpsuit though. I shivered at the thought of it. Naruto! Ga! I was brought out of my musings when Irika had yelled my name, and the class had burst out in laughter. What is it, Irika-sensei? Irika sighed. Oh, nothing, Naruto, I just asked if you were here. No, I don't think I am, I said sarcastically. Irika sighed in annoyance but called out the next name on the list. That is another sign that you're acting different, Shino said suddenly. Why? Because normally your jokes are a lot more loud and obnoxious instead of snarky. How you think so? Taijutsu class was a lot like gym. We ran laps, did push-ups, and sweat a whole bunch. It was also where I found the first big display of hatred towards me. Irika wasn't in charge of this class, and in hindsight that should have been an immediate red flag. But that's not what matters. What does matter is what had actually happened in the class. Everything started fairly normal. The teacher was an Inuzuka if the marks on her cheeks was anything to go by, and her name was Ago-sensei. Today we will be running laps, Ago said, so get in a line, last name's AZ. How so? They do that in Konoha too, I thought as I got in the very back of the line right behind Sasuke. And if any of you brats even think of acting up, I'll be adding another lap for every time I catch you, and if any of you fail to complete the laps in under 10 minutes, I'll be sure to fail you. Well, aren't you just a ray of sunshine? I thought dryly. In all honesty, I don't know how I hadn't caught on from the way she glared at me the whole time I was in line. I should have been less surprised that when it was finally my turn she said Uzumaki 5 laps. Oh wait, what? That's 6 laps, Uzumaki. I'd hurry up if I were you. I had never run so fast in my life. Grah! I growled in frustration as I punched a tree during lunch. The rest of the day had gone similarly to Taijutsu class. In both Genjutsu and Ninjutsu I was thrown out of the classroom before the teacher could give out any important information, and during the weaponry class those kunai were definitely rigged. I refused to believe that I had managed to miss the target every single time. The fact that Mizuki ran that class wasn't exactly easing my suspicions any either. Could you please refrain from hitting that tree? Shino said from behind me. Why? Because you might hurt yourself in the process. Trust me, Shino, I'd much more worried for the tree, I said as I punched the tree again. I can understand your frustration, Shino said. Why? Because you seem to be treated quite poorly by most of the staff. Oh, thank Kami, I wasn't the only one who noticed. I sighed. Shino nodded. Yes, that's why I came here. I needed to ask you something. Do you know why the teachers treat you this way? Not a clue, I lied. All I know is that the people around here really don't like me. They also like to call me things like demon and foxbrat. Shino frowned. I think that doesn't make much sense. Why? Because you on your own shouldn't be enough to outcast you. I don't know, man. I guess it's just a mystery. I shrugged. A mystery indeed. I smiled a bit when the break period had officially started and all the girls were taken out for Kanochi lessons. With Irika teaching both math and reading, I was actually able to learn. If only math and reading weren't the only 2 classes I didn't need help in. Oh well, it wasn't like a quick trip to the library wouldn't be able to fix some of my gaps in knowledge. Another class Irika taught that I was very interested in though was chakra theory. It wasn't until he had reminded me about what chakra was that I felt a weird tingling sensation in my body. It kind of felt like ants were constantly crawling all over you, totally harmless but a tad bit uncomfortable. Speaking of ants, my newfound friendship with Shino, while unexpected, helped me out a great deal in my new plan. It strives off of 3 main points. 1. I don't want to stay in Konoha, so the logical option would be to leave ASAP. However, that gets in the way of point 2. I want all the Jinchuriki to survive. Now I know that sounds far-fetched, but it is possible. Using my knowledge of the future, I can get to the Jinchuriki before the Akatsuki do, but I can't go missing Nin immediately because I wouldn't be able to warn Gaara and Suna, so I'd have to stay until at least the Chunin exams. But after the Chunin exams, Itachi and Kisame will chase after me, so I need to stay with Jiraiya so he can chase them off. But the most important thing probably is that I'm the village's Jinchuriki, and they're not going to let me go without a fight. Luckily, thanks to Orochimaru's curse Hiki, I'll be given a perfect opportunity during the Sound 4 arc. But if I was going to leave anyways, why make friends? And that would be for point 3. I want to save lives. Jiraiya, Kisame, Itachi, Deidara, Zabuza, Haku, Obito, Nagato, Konan. All of these people die in the original storyline and deserve to live. I know a few of them aren't the best people at the moment, but Kishimoto did a great job of making me care about these people. But Sasori, Haiden, Kabuto, and Zetsu? No thanks, they can burn in hell for all I care. I'd add Orochimaru to that list, but sadly Natsuki exists, so no dice there. Although admittedly Haiden would probably love hell, and even if I did kill Orochimaru he'd resurrect himself somehow. But if I don't know what's happening in Konoha, how will I know when to interfere? That's why I need to make friends. Not only will they keep me sane in a village filled with people who despise me, but they'll also be able to inform me on Konoha's current state of affairs. Of course, this is just a rough draft, and I have a few years to think about how to go about certain events, but personally I think it's a pretty good plan. Speaking of plans, it's time to put Operation Lazy Genius into motion. Shikamaru was no fool, and despite what his grades say, he's actually incredibly intelligent if only working hard wasn't so troublesome. Speaking of troublesome, here comes Naruto. Hey Shikamaru, he said. Shikamaru narrowed his eyes. That was surprisingly quiet. Actually, now that I think about it, Naruto hasn't been really loud or obnoxious all day. Despite his inner thoughts, Shikamaru answered with an annoyed, "What do you want, Naruto?" "Well, I wanted to know if you played chess." Out of all the things the blonde could have asked, that definitively wasn't one of them, and the surprise was clear on his face. Choji had even started chalking due to his shock. But Shikamaru tried to keep his composure. "Yeah, Naruto, I play chess." "Awesome," Naruto said excitedly. "Then would you mind playing against me sometime?" "I'd suggest Shoji, but I have no clue how that game works." Now he was curious. Not only was Naruto the last person he'd expect to know about chess, but the fact that he knew how to play it surprised him even more. "Alright Naruto, I'll bring in my chess board tomorrow so we can play during the break." "Alright," Naruto cheered. "Just wait until tomorrow, Shikamaru, I'll show you how great I am." Believe it, and with that Naruto had went back and taken a place next to Shino, where the bug man had sighed before starting a new conversation. "Shino?" Shikamaru thought, since when did they become friends? "Well, that was weird," Choji said as he munched away on some chips. "Choji, weird doesn't even begin to describe it." Shikamaru sighed. "Why'd you agree to game anyway?" Choji asked. "I didn't even know you played chess." Shikamaru sighed. "It's troublesome, but my dad insists on playing all sorts of strategy games with me. Chess happens to be one of them." But still, Shikamaru thought people don't just change like that overnight. "Something's up, and I want to know what." Shibi Aburame did not expect to see his son with the demon container when he went to pick him up from school. Why? Because he had never shown any interest in the boy before. But he wasn't about to tell Shino just who he can and cannot hang out with. So when he and Shino left the academy, he said what he always said. "Did anything happen at the academy today?" "Why, I ask because I'm curious about your day." "Naruto was acting differently today, and I pointed it out to him." Shino said. "Why?" "Because I found it peculiar." That worried Shino a bit, but seeing as Shino was willingly talking to the boy, he hoped it was just a sign he was having a bad day instead of a sign the Kyuubi was going to free itself. "How was he different?" Shibi asked. "Why am I asking? Because I am curious." "He was quieter today, and his jokes were more subtle." Shino answered. "He also seemed to get quite upset during lunch." "Why?" "Because he was being falsely punished throughout the first half of the day." Shibi frowned at that. It was inevitable that some of the teachers would dislike the boy, but how could they be so obvious about it that it's clear to the other students what they're doing? Shibi decided that it would be best if he stored this information away for later. "Ah, home sweat home," I sighed as I fell face first into my bed wearing my new hoodie. It was dark blue with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back. It had taken a bit of work in order to convince the owner to let me have it, and by that I mean when he inevitably threw me out of the store, he forgot to take the hoodie away from me first. I left the appropriate amount at his doorstep though, so my conscience is still clear. I didn't spend much time relaxing, however. I quickly took one of my notebooks from the academy and wrote down all the future events, the things that must happen, and the changes I wanted to make. The list looked a bit like this. Graduation arc. Prevent Sasuke from becoming a total prick. Become a genin. Wave arc. Save Zabuza and Haku. Chunin exam arc. Become Gaara's friend. Stop the Shikaku. Tsunade retrieval arc. Stay away from the Akatsuki. Get Kisame's autograph. Sound 4 arc. Become a missing nin. Stall long enough for Orochimaru to body swap with someone that isn't Sasuke. Pre-Shiuden. Hang with Gaara. Find and befriend Yujito. Warn Isabu. Call Rashi Donkey Kong at least once. Learn why almost all of the Jinchuriki are only shown for like 3 minutes before they die. Blow bubbles with Ukitaka. Chill with Fu. Rap with B. Retrieve secret Uchiha files from Danzo. Kazekage rescue mission. Make sure Gaara doesn't die. Mess with Sasori's puppet corpse. Tenchi Bridge Rekone's mission. Compare insults with Sai. Call Orochimaru a pedophile and observe the results. Shows Sasuke previously mentioned super secret Uchiha files. Kill Kabuto and Orochimaru for fun. Akatsuki suppression mission. Save Asuma. Talk about the Illuminati during Haiden's ritual. Three Tails appearance. Find a way to save Deidara because he's awesome. Itachi pursuit mission fated battle between brothers. Save Itachi and hopefully Kisame. Save Jiraiya. Pain assault arc. Hope and pray I can use therapy jutsu to save Nagato. 5 Kage summit. Laugh while killing Danzo. Fight Obito and use therapy jutsu to stop him from starting a war for world peace. It wasn't the best or most thought out plan, but it was all I had. I yawned loudly. I can think about saving the world later. Right now I need to take a nap. A nice long I fell asleep before I could even finish my sentence. Chess games and fire ants. The next day I went to the academy and took up the same seat so was in yesterday. And as I expected, Shino had taken a seat next to me. I'm guessing you're trying something new again? He asked. I had some money and I saw something I liked. I shrugged. It's no big deal. In the short time that I had known him, I had learned 2 things about Shino. 1, he really does give a reason for why he says just about everything he says, and 2, he's actually a pretty funny guy. Of course, he doesn't tell knock-knock jokes or puns, but he has mastered the art of sarcasm. Of course, while I had expected Shino to point out my new attire since he's the type of guy who likes to point out small details, I didn't expect one Ino Yamanaka to come storming up the steps. Can I help you? I asked. What's up with you, Naruto? She screeched, pointing at my new hoodie. Stop trying to imitate Sasuke. Oh god, it's already started. I always thought that his fangirls appeared when he went all emo. Oh please, I'm not imitating Sasuke. Like I'd ever want to imitate that guy. Ino pointed at me accusingly. Yeah, well, don't you think that Sakura will be into you just because you're dressing like Sasuke, okay? Ino then stormed off to sit with the previously mentioned pink-haired girl. Oh yeah, Naruto was obsessed with Sakura. I completely forgot about that. I guess I'm just so used to seeing him and Hinata together. Speaking of which, I gave the girl a wave hello just like yesterday, and she fainted. I sighed. I'm going to have to find a way to make that stop happening. I'm surprised you weren't too upset by the fact you were compared to Sasuke. Shino said. Why? Because the two of you hate each other, or should I add this to the ever-growing list of changes you've made? Add it to the list, I guess. I'm still not his biggest fan though. I said, but enough about that. I need to ask you something real quick. Do you know where I could get some fire ants? Ever since I had entered Naruto's body, I had slowly gaining bits and pieces of his memories, and let me tell you, he was a pranking genius. Not to mention a spiteful bastard. I have no clue why the people of Konoha keep messing with the poor kid. They regret it every single time. So I suppose me and him do have one thing in common. We both love getting revenge. And if we add my brains with his pranking skills, well, let's just say Konoha better watch out. Oh, it's no big deal. I said dismissively. It's just some jerk decided it would be a good idea to triple the price on the hoodie I bought. Shino nodded. Then I can have them to you by the end of the week. I was not expecting that. Hey, thanks a lot, I said sincerely. It's no problem. Why? Because he shouldn't be raising the price of his wares for no good reason, Shino answered. I guess I learned another thing about Shino. He's just as spiteful as I am. Out of the 4 classes Irika taught, history was my favorite. Aside from the blatant bias towards Konoha during the Shinobi World Wars and already knowing most of the major events from the anime. But some of it was completely new to me. Right now we were learning about a genjutsu mistress named Marie who won many battles during the First World War by casting a simple genjutsu that changed the symbols on the opposing ninjas' Hittite. It was amazing how a simple henge was able to do so much damage. Now you all better remember this stuff because it'll be on the test Friday, Irika-sensei said. I frowned at that tests were going to become the bane of my existence in more ways than one. In order for my plan to work, I have to remain as dead last, so I'm guaranteed a spot on Team 7. But if I fail every test, I'll be deemed hopeless and will get kicked out of the academy. I sigh, this whole situation is a mess. The fact that Ino has been glaring at me every chance she got wasn't really helping matters any. I guess I remind her too much of her precious Sasuke. I snort, well, I guess I won't be getting on her good side anytime soon. Speaking of which, should she and Sakura hate each other right now? Or maybe only Ino's a fangirl at the moment? Or maybe I just read the situation wrong before? I really don't know, and to be honest, I don't think I care. Thankfully, before I tried to further question the female thought process, the lunch bell rang. Unlike her father, Ino wasn't a psychiatrist. But when you live in a clan full of mind readers, you learn quite a bit about how the human mind works. So when one Naruto Uzumaki's behavior and personality did a complete 180, she was quite suspicious. Well, not a complete 180, he still slept in class and got in trouble, so it was more like a 150, but still the changes were there. She had first noticed when he had sat in the back of the class and had a casual conversation with Shino. There were 3 things wrong with that picture. First of all, Naruto doesn't sit in the back, he's up front being annoying. Second, Naruto and Shino have conflicting personalities, one's loud and boisterous, the other's quiet and reserved. Finally, Naruto does not get into casual conversations, he yells every other word and makes his presence known to everyone around him. So Ino kept an eye on the blonde but was utterly disappointed when nothing else of interest happened. Sure, there were small occurrences like when he didn't make a scene like he usually does when he gets in trouble. Or his latent use of sarcasm when he gets yelled at by Irika-sensei. But the real shock was what happened that morning. Shikamaru had appeared at the Yamanaka compound before the academy started, asking if his dad had left his chess board at the house. When Ino had asked why he needed it, she was flabbergasted when Shikamaru said Naruto had wanted to play against him. Then she had gotten to the academy and saw Naruto was wearing a black hoodie completely different from the bright colors he usually wears. So Ino tried an experiment and talked to Naruto. "What's up with you, Naruto?" Ink screeched, pointing at his new hoodie. "Stop trying to imitate Sasuke." "Oh please, I'm not imitating Sasuke. Like I'd ever want to imitate that guy," Naruto said. Ino felt a bit relieved at that. He didn't yell about how he was nothing like that dumb team like he usually would, but he still showed obvious dislike towards Sasuke. Quickly needing a way to end the conversation, Ino had said, "Yeah, well, don't you think that Sakura will be into you just because you're dressing like Sasuke, okay?" She then left in a huff to sit next to Sakura. "What was that all about?" her best friend had asked. "Oh, nothing important," Ino assured her, "just wanted to test a theory I had." "A theory involving Naruto?" Sakura asked incredulously. "No offense, Ino, but the words Naruto and theory don't exactly go hand in hand." Ino laughed. "Well, there's a first time for everything." When the break had finally arrived, I was a bit surprised to see that Shikamaru actually had a chess board with him. "Alright, you ready to play?" Shikamaru turned to me. "I still can't believe you know how to play this game," he admitted. "Yeah, well, I know the basics. I still don't have a grasp on how some of the weirder rules work, like castling," I admitted. "That's more than I expected, to be honest." Shikamaru sighed, "which is good, we can just play without them. I'd be too troublesome to teach you anyway." The weird thing about chess and most games in this world was that they were ninjafied, as I like to call it. In chess, for example, the pieces were not pawn, rook, knight, bishop, queen, and king. Instead, they were called genin, chunin, jonin, anbu, hokage, and dynamo. The pieces were shaped a bit differently as well, but the rules were the same, so I could manage. Once the board was set up, Shikamaru asked me black or white. I shrugged and sat down in front of the black pieces, and Shikamaru moved his white pawn forward. I then moved my black knight, and the game continued from there. Choji, who was watching the whole time, finally made his presence known. "So why did ask Shikamaru to play chess with you?" I moved my bishop. I overheard some ninja talking about how some guy named Shikaka likes playing strategy games with his son. Then they started talking about how this year's academy class was full of clan children. It wasn't really hard to put 2 and 2 together. That was of course a blatant lie, but I couldn't really say that I knew you were a genius cause I saw it on TV. Thankfully, Choji seemed to accept the answer, and Shikamaru was too invested in the game to care. Then the boy asked, "Where did you even learn to play chess?" Someone had left a box lying around. I picked it up and learned the rules. It got a bit boring playing against myself though, so I sold it for some extra cash. That wasn't a complete lie. I had found a chess board lying around my grandfather's house and we had eventually sold it. Okay, the rest of the game was played in utter silence. Okay, that's not true. Everyone around us were screaming like madmen, but me and Shikamaru silent as could be. I have to admit though, Shikamaru was good, like really good. The only reason he hasn't beaten me yet was probably because I had 7 extra years of experience. In fact, our game had actually gained a small audience. It had started when Kiba had yelled, "Hey Naruto, since when do you like smart people games?" That had gotten the people's attention, and a few of the other students crowded over to watch. The game had gone on for so long that Kanochi lessons had ended before we were finished. Of course, either me or Shikamaru had noticed since we were so immersed in the game. I was only made aware of it when I heard Sakura say, "Since when does Naruto play chess?" That's what I said. "See Sakura, I told you he was acting weird." I even smiled a bit when I heard a shy voice that clearly belonged to Hinata softly say, "Jigo Naruto." Eventually I messed up by moving my rook too soon and Shikamaru captured my king. "Well, good game," I said. Shikamaru gave me a faint smile, as well. "It's too troublesome to bring the board to school every day. Besides, I don't think Irika-sensei'd allow us to do something like that again. But if you do want a rematch, you could come over to the compound." "Thanks, I'll take you up on that," I said, but inside I was cheering and fist pumping like crazy. Sure, it was a simple plan, but being friends with Shikamaru would be great in the long run. Playing strategical games against a genius is bound to improve my strategical mind. Not to mention the fact that having more friends is always a good thing. It'll keep me from going insane. I had gotten into a sort of routine since I had arrived here. I'd wake up, head to the academy, hang out with Shino during homeroom, go to class, eat much with Shino, Shikamaru, and Choji, nap during math and reading, learn about chakra theory, go to the library to study up on ninjutsu and genjutsu, eat dinner at Ichiraku's, then go home. However, today was Friday, and today was the day Shino had given me a box full of fire ants, and I was about to put them to good use. So during lunch I had walked up to one Kiba Inuzuka. "Hey Kiba." "Heh, what do you want, Naruto?" he asked with a tiny Akamaru resting on his head. I smirked. "I have a box full of fire ants and a list of revenge victims you in." At that, Kiba's face lit up. I mean literally lit up like a Christmas tree. "I like the way you think." My reason for trying to befriend Kiba wasn't as tactical as it was personal. Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, while all great guys, aren't exactly the types of people you would invite to have the night of your life. With Kiba, on the other hand, well, from Naruto's past memories I knew that this guy was part of most of his best memories. But still, I'd feel bad if I didn't at least invite them. So I walked over to my usual group and said, "Hey guys, me and Kibari gonna be ditching for the rest of the day, you wanna come?" Surprisingly, Shino was the first to stand up. "Sure, I'll come." "Why?" "Because if you're going to do what I think you're going to do, I feel required to go. I was the one who got you the fire ants." Shikamaru sighed. "It's troublesome, but I'll come too, if only because I want to know what you need fire ants for." "I guess I'll tag along," Choji agreed. "Perfect. Grab your stuff and let's get going then," I said cheerfully. Unbeknownst to them, however, 2 lone Kanochi were listening in on their conversation. "Let's follow them, Sakura," Ino had said. What?" asked the pink-haired girl. "But Ino, we can't just skip classes." "Oh come on, Sakura," Ino said. "It's not like you don't already know that stuff. Besides, aren't you even a bit curious about what they're up to?" "I don't think I want to know what Naruto's planning with those fire ants." Sakura shivered. "Oh fine then," Ino huffed, "but I'm going." Ino then chased after the group of boys who had just left the building. Sakura sighed and chased after her best friend. "Wait for me." When we had reached the clothing store, I did not expect for both Ino and Sakura to have followed us. To be honest, however, I had half expected just me and Kiba to show up here. "Alright Naruto, what are we doing here?" Shikamaru had asked. "Hey, I know this place," Ino said. "This is one of the greatest clothing stores in Konoha, real cheap too." Me and Shino snorted at that. "Yeah, well, the owner's also a massive douchebag," I said. "Ended up charging me 3 times more than what I owed." Sakura made a face. "Why would he do that?" "I dunno," I shrugged, "but I'm gonna make sure he doesn't do it again. Now who here knows how to pick a lock?" Surprisingly, it was Ino who grabbed a hairpin out of her purse and picked the lock to the store. "What?" she said. At our dumbstruck faces, we learned it during Kanochi classes. That actually made a lot of sense. While Gigi has made many mistakes in the past, he is not an idiot. A class where they do nothing but arrange flowers would never get into his shinobi curriculum. "I was actually more surprised that you're okay with helping us," I admitted. Ino shrugged. "You're a fashion disaster. If pranking this guy gets you some nicer clothes, then I'm okay with it." I shrugged. "Alright then, here's the plan. The bottom floor of this place is the store, and upstairs is his house. We'll be planting the ants upstairs to make sure we don't hit any innocents." I handed everyone a jar of fire ants that I had prepared earlier. Well, I didn't expect Ino or Sakura to show up, so both them and Shikamaru and Choji had 1 jar for the 2 of them. "Alright, now find a spot and let these suckers loose." If they bite you, don't worry, it'll sting and burn and be really uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous. I reassured them. Now let's go ruin this guy's day. Tensu Hakuro was a successful business owner who lived a relatively peaceful life in Konoha. Tensu also liked to keep to schedules, so when he got home he did what he always did and threw his coat on his bed and made himself some tea. Or he would have if tiny red ants hadn't burst out of his shelves when he opened them. Tensu jumped back and cursed when one had bitten his hand. "You motherfucker," he growled. Tensu, frustrated at this development, decided to wash his hands in the sink. Only problem was that when he got there he was only met with more ants and more ant bites. Tensu decided that the best course of action at that point would be to hire a genin team to exterminate the ants. But when he went back to his room to retrieve his coat, he saw that his bed and coat were now infested with ants. Tensu, now thoroughly annoyed, went to go to the Hoku's office without his coat. But when he had gone to leave his house, he felt tiny little things crawling up his legs. He looked down to see hundreds of fire ants crawling up his legs. Tensu then let out the most hilariously girly scream he had ever heard. It was such a shame he never noticed the sign on his door, "Don't overprice people, Naruto." Sakura had never pranked anyone before, but she had to admit she couldn't stop the giggles when that old guy had screamed. Of course, she could never laugh as loud as Kiba or Naruto were, but still it was much more fun than she had first thought. "So what do you think managed to tip him over the edge?" Naruto asked. "I doubt it was mine. The ants in his cloths drawer is supposed to happen later." "I bet it was the ones I put in his bed," Kiba snickered. Shino, who was the only one not laughing, albeit with some trouble, had said, "I believe it's the ants in the sink." "Why?" "Because now he is unable to wash the bites." Ino huffed. "Yeah, well, I just hope he found the ones me and Sakura put in his cupboards." Ino then broke out into a fit of giggles. "I still can't believe how girly that scream was." "What do you think, Shikamaru?" Choji asked while shoving his face. Shikamaru sighed. "Troublesome. If I had to guess, I'd say it was the ones me and Choji put under the mat. He most likely found them last, and it was the thing that tipped him over the edge." Sakura was still giggling, however she couldn't believe that she had so much fun doing something she defined as juvenile and silly. When Ino suggested they should eat lunch with them on Monday, she didn't decline the offer. Spandex and suspicions. "You know, I can't believe I had completely forgotten about this until now, but all of my plans kinda depend on me becoming this incredibly awesome ninja. Now I know I'm not going to be spewing out jutsu like clockwork at the age of 8, but there is something that I can do to give me some sort of edge. Which leads me to the reason I was running a lap around the village when it was only 6 in the morning. I hope this is early enough. I thought if I had gotten up for nothing today, I'm going to be pissed." Lucky for me, after I was about to finish, I could hear the thing I'd been looking for. Youth. Well, maybe lucky isn't the right word. Kishimoto did a scarily accurate job of depicting Meito Guy. His hair was in a bowl cut, he wore a hideous green jumpsuit, he made challenges for himself, he was constantly yelling about youth, and most disturbingly a literal sunset appeared behind him when he got too happy. "How youthful of you," Guy said, doing his signature nice guy pose. Okami did his teeth just sparkle. "It warms my heart to see our up-and-coming ninja training their body." "Yeah, well," I panted, "it's not like I can learn any jutsu right now, so I'll have to settle for physical training." Guy nodded approvingly. "Yes, well, I'd like to see you keep it up in the future." Guy was about to leave, but I stopped him. "Wait," I said, "real quick, do you have any tips?" Guy stroked his chin. "For no, just keep doing what you're doing." Guy said, "Eat healthy and take lap around the village a day. Increase the number of laps if one becomes too easy. I wrote a book about it, so if you need any more help, check the library." Guy gave me another nice guy pose before he shunshined away. I shivered. Watching Guy in the anime is much different than seeing him in real life. But he did give me some good advice, so after I finish this lap, I'll be heading over to the library. I actually took a bit of a nap, however, before I went to the library. Apparently 6 a.m. was a bit too early for me to be waking up. That was fine by me, though I will never complain about getting a bit of extra sleep. When I had entered the library, I gave the librarian a kind wave. She replied, of course, with an ugly sneer. I sighed, but that was all. Believe it or not, the fact that she had only sneered at me was a major improvement. At least she didn't threaten to kick me out like she did when I first decided to come to the library. I doubt she'll ever come to like me, but as long as I'm allowed in the library, I don't really care. Speaking of the library, it's an amazing place. Without the internet, I had to find all my information here. During my many stays, I had learned that it was a paradise for civilians and ninja alike. The bottom floor was filled with books about almost everything. Cooking, gardening, pet ownership, you name it. On the next floor there were books on ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. There weren't any techniques there, obviously, just the general information they taught in the academy, along with Guy's book, which I snagged a copy of. The next floor was for genin only, and the genius thing about the library was that there were no stairs to the genin level, meaning you had to tree walk there. But up there was where they kept the books on jutsu, sealing, summons, and most importantly poisons. Oh yes, I already knew exactly what I wanted when it came to techniques. I'm going to be a master of bullshit, a genjutsu specialist, with a knack for poisons and close combat options if they're necessary. Which, considering that towards the endgame everyone and their mother has a pair of mystic eyeballs, they will be very necessary. Genjutsu will be a pain in the ass to learn thanks to a certain nine-tailed fur ball, but I'm nothing if not persistent, so I'm sure I'll find. But that's beside the point. At the moment I'm studying up on gardening so that when I do become a genin I'm not completely in the dark. I also grabbed books on chemistry and cooking to study up on later. When I go to find a table to read at, however, who else do I find but a lone pink-haired Kanochi? Hey Sakura, I said happily. The girl in question jumped. What do you want? Nah, her jaw nearly hit the floor. Naruto. What are you doing at the library? I shrugged, looking up some stuff. Can I sit with you? Sure, she replied. This isn't a date though. That's fine. We read in silence for a bit until Sakura's curiosity finally got the better of her. The art of gardening? She read Cooking 101? Chemistry, and you? Naruto, do I even want to know what you're going to do with these? Now wait just a second, I can explain. I said for once this isn't for pranking, although that does give me an idea. At the sight of Sakura's steadily raising fist I quickly retracted my statement. Never mind. In any way, as I was saying, I was actually thinking a lot about what I wanted to do once I became a ninja. Oh, and what do you want to do? Sakura asked. Genjutsu and poisons, I answered honestly. I wouldn't have expected that. Sakura said. I thought you'd just charge and head first with taijutsu. If the actual Naruto was here right now, you'd be spot on. Aside from his clones and the transformation jutsu, that's pretty much all he did until he fought Niji. Now this sounds more appealing to me. Think about it, a taijutsu master can easily break every bone in your body if you're not careful, and a master of ninjutsu can destroy you in a number of flashy and cool looking ways, but with genjutsu you have so many options. You could invert your target's movements, make them believe they have more chakra than they actually do so they fall to chakra exhaustion, or I could simply make them believe they've gone blind. There's endless possibilities. Sakura realized it wouldn't matter if they're stronger than you because you could make them think otherwise. Exactly. I said, and poisons are just as useful. Once I have someone captured in my genjutsu, you can insert the poison without them noticing. Sakura said. Naruto, you're a genius. No, Shikamaru's a genius. I wanted to use poisons because I thought giving my opponents hallucinogens would be hilarious. Sakura sighed in defeat. Naruto, I think you're the dumbest genius I've ever met. I'm going to take that as a compliment, I said smugly. Shikaku Nara had seen a lot of things in his shinobi career. During the Third Shinobi World War he fought an Iwa nin with a Kekai Genkai that allowed him to use his fingernails as shuriken. A few years later he fought against a missing nin that had only spoken in rhymes. And most recently he had watched Kakashi and Guy get into a drinking contest. So needless to say, Shikaku has seen a lot of weird stuff. The difference between then and now, however, is that when you're dealing with other ninja it's almost guaranteed to be crazy. However, when you're in the comfort of your own home you generally know what to expect. That's why watching the village Jinchuriki playing chess with his son Shikamaru surprised him greatly. Especially when he realized Shikamaru was taking it seriously. So Shikaku decided to watch their game and was quite impressed. The kid was good, made a few mistakes that cost him a few important pieces, but all in all it wasn't a bad game. Shikamaru won in the end after luring out Naruto's Hokage and capturing his dynamo, but he didn't come out unscathed. Naruto took about half his genin, all his chunin, one of his jonin, and one of his A and BU. That was a close game, Shikamaru, Naruto said happily. Shikamaru sighed. It's troublesome, but I have to admit I didn't expect you to see past my first few traps. Yeah, well, it helped that I was looking for him. Naruto said. I just didn't expect your last trap to be a trap. It was an impressive game, Shikaku said, making his presence known. Naruto jumped in surprise and Shikamaru let out a sigh of annoyance. So you were watching Dad? How troublesome. Hey Naruto, Shikaku said, it's getting kinda late, how about you eat dinner here tonight? Naruto looked shocked, then he beamed. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Shikamaru's dad. Ha! Shikaku laughed. Call me Shikaku kid. Eating dinner with Shikamaru's family was quite nostalgic. It reminded me of eating dinner with my family back home. I smiled bitterly. I hadn't thought of home since I got here. I wanted to try to stay positive though. Besides, while I miss them and I'm sure they miss me, they'll move on eventually. And even though I'll never see my mom or dad ever again, I'll still have the friends I make here, not to mention the fact that in a few years I'll be a fucking ninja. I personally feel that I have no real right to feel depressed. Anyway, about the dinner itself, I had quickly added Yoshino Nara to my ever-growing list of favorite people, right above Aino, but still lower than Shino and Choji. What makes her so great? Well, the fact that she's an excellent cook was a factor, but it was more contributed to that she's the only person in the history of ever that's made Shikamaru sprint. I had bugged him about it pretty much the second dinner started. Wow, Shikamaru, you're pretty fast. Have you ever considered joining a track team? I asked. Shikamaru paled. Please don't give my mom any ideas, Naruto. Don't worry, Shikamaru, we don't even have one, I said, laughing. I know, Shikamaru said coldly. That still won't stop her. It was really nice, to be honest. After spending enough time being glared at, you start to feel unwanted. It's amazing that the original Naruto came out as stable as he did. Let me rephrase that. It's amazing that Naruto wanted to be the fucking Hokage of the Leaf Village despite the fact that everyone that lives there hates his guts. I was still on my guard though. Even though Shikamaru was my friend, it doesn't change the fact that the Nara clan is filled with strategical masterminds. If I was going to be caught up in one of Shikaku's plans, I was not going to show any surprise at all. Believe it. So Naruto, Shikaku said, causing me to jump. Damn it, how long have you been playing chess for? A few years, I replied. Honestly, I found a chessboard, learned the rules, but I needed some extra cash, so I sold it. Shikaku accepted my answer. Well, do you know how to play shogi? Sadly, no. The only real strategical game I can think of is chess. Unless you're up for a rousing round of checkers? I asked. Shikaku laughed. No, I'm fine, thank you. Tell you what though, next time you stop by, I'll teach you how to play. Deal? Yeah, sure. I was trying not to think about it, but when Sunday came, I began to panic. Naruto, as unpredictable as he was, always did one thing consistently. Every Sunday morning, the first thing he would do is meet the Hokage. I know that I haven't been acting too different from the regular Naruto. I still pulled pranks, I still slept in class, I still had that Kami damn vocal tick, and I can still be loud and boisterous. Can being the keyword there. I can't act completely like Naruto because 1. It would hurt my throat to yell like he does constantly, and 2. The Hokage is a master ninja that would easily see through my charade. I frowned as the Hokage tower came closer into view. I'll just have to wing it. I thought. I just hope that he doesn't blame the seal for my new behavior. Hiruzen Sarutobi was a smart man, that fact, and his massive pool of jutsu is what granted him the title of the god of shinobi. So Hiruzen had known that something was wrong with Naruto the moment Shisui signed up to look after Naruto for 2 days in a row. Shisui had been complaining about looking after Naruto that day. He claimed the job was boring and monotonous. When he questioned Shisui on his actions, he revealed that Naruto was acting different. Hiruzen would have called up Jiraiya then and there if it wasn't for the fact that Shisui also said that his seal was the same as it's always been. Then as Hiruzen watched Naruto, he felt conflicted. One part of him was happy that he was making friends, while the ninja part of him wanted to send the blonde to T and I to see if he was a spy from IWA or AIM. However, seeing as Ibiki's methods aren't exactly civil, Yamanaka techniques don't work on Jinchuriki, and he never let Enko near any child, no matter the village. That wasn't an option. So Hiruzen decided to wait for their meeting on Sunday. If Naruto failed to show and he wasn't sick, he'd know he was an enemy. If Naruto did show up and acted too differently, he'd inspect the seal after making sure the boy wasn't an imposter. And if it really is Naruto, then Hiruzen would be happy that he's finally made some friends. But when Naruto burst through the doors with a big smile, Hiruzen relaxed a bit. Hey Gigi, he said happily. Hiruzen gave a genuine smile and decided to start the conversation, as he always did. Hello Naruto, how's the academy been? Naruto smiled again. It was great, Gigi. I've talking with Shino lately. He's a bit weird but really cool. I've also been playing chess with Shikamaru. Did you know that he's like a super genius? Oh, and then there's Hinata. I keep trying to say hi to her, but she faints every time I try. Then there was this one guy that had super big eyebrows and could like summon a sunset or something. And Hiruzen smiled a bit as Naruto recapped everything that he's done over the past couple of days, and when the blonde had finished, Hiruzen was convinced that this was still Naruto. A more reserved Naruto, sure, but still Naruto in the end. Besides, Hiruzen could tell that there was no other ninja in the village that had so much chakra. After nearly having a heart attack talking to the Hokage, I decided that I'd get a head start on gardening by heading over to the Yamanaka flower shop. Not to mention Ino's help would be essential if I wanted my plan for Hinata to go smoothly. But until I can learn how flowers work, Operation Pale Eyes will have to sit on the back burner. As I entered the store, I heard a very bored hello, welcome to the Yamanaka flower shop. Ino was apparently working the counter that day. Oh hey Naruto, she said, much happier. What are you doing here? And before you ask, none of our plants are poisonous. I wasn't going to ask that this time. I said I was actually looking for flowers to give to Hinata. Oh, Ino said mischievously, I guess you're not as dense as I thought then, Naruto. There's being dense, and there's being retarded. She couldn't make it any less obvious if she held up a sign that read I love Naruto Uzumaki. I deadpanned. I guess that's true. Laughed. Alright, what do you need? I want to tell her I want to be friends, I said. Thought I think I've got just the thing. Then came back out a few minutes later with a bundle of flowers. Here you go, this bouquet contains some yarrows, which means friendship. They'll be perfect, I said. I'll also be taking a few of these seeds, I said, handing her a few seed packets. Alright, said, ringing my purchases up. That'll be 20 yen. I handed her the correct amount of change and walked out of the store. Thanks, Ino. No thank you, Ino snickered, for introducing me to the wonderful world of pranks. She took another look at her flower book and burst into a fit of giggles when she reread that yarrows actually meant everlasting love. Hinata's not the only one. Easy to read, Naruto. Flowers and detention. When I had arrived at school on Monday, I gave Hinata her small wave and she promptly fainted. I had then used her comatose state to sneak the flowers Ino had given me into her bag along with a card to read from, Naruto. I had then taken my usual seat and had waited for Shino. During the time in between, I had thought about what to do for the future, or more specifically the wave arc. You see, the bad thing about being sucked into an anime you've only watched all the way through once or twice is that some things become hard to remember fully as time passes. Which is why I wrote everything I could remember down in my notebook. But now it's all about Wave, so essentially everything from graduation to the creation of the Great Naruto Bridge. It will be called that. That is one thing I refuse to change. Almost everything in between that, however, well, let's do one thing at a time. First up, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. In the show, Naruto is tricked by Mizuki in order to steal the Scroll of Seals, and that's where he learned the technique. But like every other powerful jutsu that Naruto learns canonically, he does so by complete fucking accident. Failing the test also isn't an option, because if I can't preform a simple clone jutsu, I'll never become a genjutsu master, but in order for that to happen I'll need more control. But until Iruka teaches us that stupid leaf forehead sticking thing, I can't practice it or people get suspicious, and ugh. I hate living with ninja. Which leads to point number 2, the bell test. If things continue the way they have been, then Sakura will be willing to work together with me. The real challenge is going to be getting Sasuke to put his pride aside for a bit in order to impress Kakashi. However, I'd like to become friends with Hinata before I put Operation Broadshiha into action. Point number 3 is when the demon brothers attack, and that I actually don't know what to do there. I've never been in a fight before in my life, and I'll probably just freeze up or do something stupid. Either way, I suppose Kakashi'll bail me out of it so I won't have to worry. Well, that is until Zabuza shows up. For this I'm just not sure. To be honest, I had no idea how Naruto and Sasuke pulled off what they did in canon. I only know what they did, so I'm just going to pin it down in a list of things I won't get till I'm a ninja. After that confrontation, I'll need to learn how to tree walk quickly so I can guard Tazuna without being supervised by Kakashi. And by learn I mean figure it out in Konoha first so I can practice water walking in Wave, since the only place I can learn to water walk in Konoha is near civilians, and those guys are assholes. I can't do anything with those bastards around. If I get to strong, Lord Hokage the fox is strengthening the child. If I get to smart, Lord Hokage the fox is messing with his mind. It's ridiculous. During Pain's invasion, I'm going to spit on their graves before I make him revive them. Enough about Konoha's bullshit though, let's get back on track. After I learn how to water walk and maybe some genjutsu, if I can get my hands on some, it'll be time to face Zabuza again. Now this is where shit gets dicey. In order for this to work, I need a way to save Inari, find Gato, kill Gato, get Gato's head to Zabuza without Kakashi getting suspicious on how I required it, convince the Mist Demon he wasn't planning on paying him, and convince Tazuna to name that bridge after me. But I suppose I do have a good 2 years to figure all that shit out. But right now I'm going to have as much fun as I can, because when shit does hit the fan, I don't want to say that I didn't have fun while it lasted. Speaking of fun, hey Shino, how you doing? I greeted. I'm feeling slightly nervous. Shino admitted. Why? Because Iruka-sensei isn't going to be happy that we skipped class on Friday. Oh yeah, I completely forgot that we did that. I'm sure it'll be fine, I said, waving him off. Just then, however, Iruka-sensei entered the classroom. Naruto Uzumaki, Kiba Inuzuka, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, a few of the students chuckled at how the usual idiots were getting in trouble again. Shino Aburame, Ino Yamanaka, and Sakura Haruno get down here immediately. And then they gasped that they managed to get 3 of the most level-headed students in on their ditching efforts. So that's where you were, Blondie, some bitcha girl Amy or Agi, whatever her name was, said you and Forehead were partying it up with those losers? You wish, Ami, that's what her name was. Ino scoffed. Unlike you, me and Sakura know how to have a good time. As I walked down past the girl, I not so subtly coughed into my hand. Cough, cough, bitch, cough. Oh, Ami said you used a bad word. What are you talking about? I was just talking about female dogs, I said matter-of-factly. Dumb thing didn't exactly have a comeback for that one. Luckily for me, Irika didn't seem to hear my bitch comment. Unluckily for me, he remembered that I ditched. I can't believe you all, he said. Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji, Naruto, I'd have expected you to learn your lesson by now. You guys know the drill, detention all week. As for you three, Irika shook his head disapprovingly. I expected more out of you three. You'll get the same punishment. Is there anything you'd like to say for yourselves? I live with no regrets, I said. Bastard deserved it, Kiba muttered. It's troublesome, but I agree with Kiba, Shikamaru muttered. I'm with Shikamaru here, Choji said through bites. I refuse to let the fire ants go to waste, Shino said like it was the most normal thing in the world. I am willing to sacrifice my education to stop the fashion monstrosity that was Naruto, Ino said. I don't regret it either, Sakura agreed. You're supposed to be sorry, Irika yelled. Hinata Hyuga wasn't sure if she had been dreaming or not for the past week. The reason for this being, of course, her all-time crush Naruto Uzumaki had been giving her small hellos every morning. She always wants to say hello back, but her face gets all red and her judgment is clouded, and before she knows it she had fainted and was laying on the floor. But today she knew she had to be dreaming today. As the Hyuga heiress, a multitude of lessons had been shoved down her through. Things that she would never have an interest in, like origami, proper etiquette, and most ridiculously how to properly breathe. She knew her clan was trying to make her the best heiress she could be, but proper breathing was a skill every living person had. Among the numerous lessons she was given, one of the most prominent had always been on flowers and their meanings. That's how she knew that the bouquet she had found in her bag was definitely made of yarrows, the flower of everlasting love. If it wasn't for the fact that the card that came with it was definitely in Naruto's handwriting and that she had pinched herself several times to ensure she wasn't dreaming, she would have never believed it. However, Hinata knew that Naruto, as determined as he is, was not a master gardener, and the most likely conclusion would be that he picked these flowers by accident. Still, however, Hinata's face flushed red when she thought about the fact that Naruto had gotten her flowers. I should probably thank him, she whispered, since he got me flowers and all. I smiled as the shy Hyuga heiress came inching towards our group's usual lunch spot, which had recently added both Ino and Sakura. I was a bit nervous at first, considering the fact that both aforementioned girls had been grinning madly ever since lunch had started. Naruto, I've come here to thank you for the FL flowers, Hinata stuttered. Oh Kami, this girl couldn't be more adorable if she tried. I thought, did you like him? I asked. I told Ino exactly what I wanted them to mean, so I hope she didn't give you any I hate you flowers or nothing. Don't you worry, Naruto, Ino said, trying to hold back laughter. I made them say exactly what they need to. At that point, everybody but me had clued in on what Ino had meant by that, and had shit-eating grins on their faces except for Shino, but to be fair, he might have been grinning. I can never really get a read on that guy. Oh well, that's great, the hi, I said before my brain had turned itself off on account of a tiny adorable Hyuga girl hugging me. I am so happy, Naruto, she stuttered happily. When Hinata had finally let go, my mind still wasn't all there, and sadly the first words out my mouth were, what just happened, and can we do it again? Ino couldn't hold in her laughter after that. She couldn't even stand after Hinata had processed what I had said and promptly fainted. Once Ino had explained what she had done to both me and Hinata, I wasn't sure if I wanted to slap her or hug her. On the one hand, I really wanted to slap her because that was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. But on the other hand, Hinata gives out awesome hugs. Speaking of the shy girl, we were able to coax her in joining our ever-growing lunch group. Hooray! Now all we need is Sasuke and we'll have the whole Rookie 9. But enough about stupid brooding Uchihas and more about awesome tiny Hayatas. So what did you do to get into so much TR trouble anyway? Hinata stuttered. Well, you know that clothing store near the center of town? I asked. Hinata nodded her head in confirmation. Well, he was overcharging me by quite a bit, so I decided to teach him a lesson. Speaking of lessons, Choji piped up, do you have any clue what Mizuki-sensei was talking about in Genjutsu class today? He was talking about the 5 types of Genjutsu, a whole bunch, but he's never mentioned them before. Really? I asked. The 5 types of Genjutsu is pretty important information, so I doubt that Mizuki-sensei just skip over it like that. I mean, I sleep in class a lot, Kiba admitted, but I've never heard of it before either. Neither have I, Ino muttered. I've read about it, Sakura supplied, but I don't think he's ever mentioned it in class before. That confused me for a second or two before I remembered who Mizuki had been working for. Orochimaru, of course. I thought if he was planning on destroying the Leaf Village, it would only make sense that he made sure all of the next generation of ninja were weaker. Well, how do you know about the 5 Genjutsu types? Shikamaru asked, since none of us learned it in class. Oh, that's easy actually. I answered. I already told you that I wanted to specialize in genjutsu, so I've been looking into it recently. Then could you inform us on what these genjutsu types are? Shino asked. Why? Because it would be helpful to know such important information. Oh yeah, sure, it's actually really simple. The 5 types are self, living, object, area, and sense. I explained. Self genjutsu affects the target's view of the user. For example, you could make yourself appear invisible, or like a completely different person. Living genjutsu affects the target's perspective of other living things like birds, fish, or other people. Object genjutsu is the same as living genjutsu except it affects objects instead. Area genjutsu affects an entire area, and sense genjutsu affects any of the 5 senses. Sakura made a face. It's weird though, she said. If the academy is supposed to get us ready to be ninja, why would they skip such important pieces of the curriculum? WLTH, then what else have we been missing? Hinata asked, finally deciding to voice her opinion. Well, from Irika-sensei's overly long lectures I doubt he's leaving anything out. I said, but the other classes are with Mizuki-sensei and Igo-sensei. I doubt it's possible to leave anything out in Taijutsu class, so I guess we'll just have to see what we're missing in ninjutsu and genjutsu. Well, I say we stop worrying about it. Kiba said, bored. Let's think about something fun instead. This talk has actually given me a great idea. I said mischievously. Let's prank Mizuki-sensei next. Kiba and Ino seemed instantly on board, however Sakura seemed to have doubts. Now wait a minute. She said, wasn't pranking the whole reason we got detention in the first place? No, that's not why we got detention, Shino answered while looking through a bug encyclopedia. Why? We got detention because we ditched classes. Naruto, do you think that house spiders would be an appropriate punishment? Are they lethal? I asked. No. What do they cause? I asked. Dry mouth, nausea, weakness, lethargy, hallucinations, double vision, blurred vision, joint pain, Shino answered calmly. They'll be perfect. I answered. You guys are insane. Sakura whined. Don't you think that's a bit much? Hinata asked. That depends. Are those all the symptoms? Chest and abdomen pains, trouble breathing, rapid heart rate, sweating, fever. Yeah, he hasn't stopped since you first asked him. Choji sighed. Yes, Shino, I think the spider's a bit much. I said. The Abirame seemed a bit disappointed but quickly went flipping through the book again for a new solution. I'll learn how to make salves. Hinata chimed, and I could probably make something to help. But I'd need some herbs to do it. I could help with that. Ino said, my family has all different kinds of herbs growing at the compound. We have some herbs at my place too. Kiba said, we use them for training our dogs' noses. Troublesome. It's a good idea, but how would we get Mizuki to use it? Shikamaru asked. Well, Sakura started before she stopped herself. On the one hand, she really didn't want to get in trouble again, but on the other hand, she did have a lot of fun when they pranked Tensu. I guess I could give salves out to all the teachers as an apology for ditching, Sakura suggested. And give the bad salve to Mizuki. Shikamaru finished. That might actually work. Alright then, guys can drop the herbs off at my place after detention. I said, then me and Hinata will get to work on the salves. If that's alright with you, I turned to Hinata to see that her brain had failed her. Me go to Naruto's house. She muttered with a huge blush on her face. I'll just assume you'll be there, I said as I stuck my address in her bag before handing a copy to both Ino and Kiba. I probably won't be able to bring them over today, Kiba said before his face blanched. Mom's gonna rip me a new one for this. That's fine, we can make the salves tomorrow. I shrugged. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Sakura said, Mom's going to be so mad. The punishment probably won't be too severe. Shino said, why? Because it's our first time getting detention. Shikamaru, on the other hand, Choji said, snickering. Shikamaru's eyes widened. Choji, can I stay at your place tonight? He asked. You know that won't stop her. Choji laughed. Choza Akimichi was proud of his son when he learned how to use the clan's multi-size technique. He's proud of his son when he got good grades. He's proud of his son when he tells him about getting a perfect score in weaponry class. Choza Akimichi is not proud of when his son gets detention, but he's especially not proud when he doesn't even feel bad about it. Choji, what do you mean you don't care? I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Choji quickly rectified, I just meant that I feel what we did was worth getting detention. Choza, calm down a bit, what exactly did you do? Well, you see, there was this clothing store, I think it was called Tensu's Threads or something. Apparently he was way overcharging people, so we decided to teach him not to do that anymore. Choji answered. That's strange, Choza thought. I went there just last Tuesday and the prices were fine. Who gave you this information? He asked. Naruto did. Choji answered. He was charged 90 ryo for a single hoodie. He even had the receipt to prove it. Choza frowned. He knew people didn't like the boy due to what he had inside of him, but he didn't expect it to go that far. Hey Choji, he said, next time you see Naruto let him know he's welcome at any Akimichi restaurant in Konoha. Alright, Dad. Choji answered. Does this mean I'm not in trouble? No, you're still grounded. Inoichi Yamanaka was annoyed. Ever since Friday, Ino had become quite the troublemaker. It had all started after he had been brought into the Tenses Threads clothing store to investigate a strange infestation of fire ants. It wasn't a particularly hard case to crack. There was a card on the door that was signed Naruto, for crying out loud, and a quick talk with Shibi Aburame let us know that his son Shino was involved as well. What had surprised Inoichi the most, however, was the light blonde hair they had found on the floor. Inoichi didn't want to believe it, but after a quick DNA test there was no doubt in his mind that his girl Ino had been a part of the prank as well. When Inoichi had questioned Ino about it, she had the audacity to laugh. I'm sorry, Daddy. She had said. It's just every time I think of his reaction. Ino burst out into another fit of giggles. It hadn't stopped there either. Ever since, if you had wronged Ino in any way, she would take revenge. Her most prominent target had been a girl from the academy named Ami. At first people were saying that Uzumaki was on a pranking spree, but the people had caught a different blonde instead. The people of Konoha had soon come to the conclusion that there were two blonde pranksters in Konoha, and when Inoichi had been told that his daughter had detention for the whole next week, he had begun to accept that fact as well. Like most veteran ninjas, Shibi Aburame could not be surprised by much. So when he was told his son had detention, he was not surprised. He knew that spending time with the number one prankster in Konoha was bound to get him into trouble. However, Shibi also knew that this was the first time Shino has had friends since Torian left, and he couldn't take that away from him. So Shibi decided that the most logical course of action would be to let Shino do as he pleased, and as long as it didn't affect his grades, Shibi didn't care how many times he ditched or how many detentions he got. Shikamaru Nara was currently getting an earful from his mother about how the academy was important, and how he should pay more attention in school. He sighed. Hey Dad, he said, much to his mother's ire, why does everybody hate Naruto so much? That threw both Yoshino and Shikaka for a loop. Why do you think that? Yoshino asked. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. It's quite obvious when you think about it. He's thrown out of class for the most minute things, he's always given extra laps in taijutsu, and Mom has forced me to go shopping at the clothing store we pranked several times before, and we've never been overpriced, but the receipt he showed us was genuine. Not to mention the staff seemed to be messing with the curriculum as well. How do you know that? Shikaka had but in becoming curious. Shikamaru sighed. I had first become suspicious when Mizuki-sensei had never told us about the 5 types of genjutsu. No one seemed to know about it, even Hinata, who had never once missed a day of school. So I looked through the textbook, and apparently there were multiple key lessons in both genjutsu and ninjutsu that Mizuki hadn't even touched upon. Shikaka smirked a bit. Ever since the blonde Jinchuriki had shown up at their house, Yoshino had been bugging him to find some way to help the poor kid out, and it looked like he finally had a way to do so. If the school really was messing with the curriculum, then it didn't just affect Naruto but all of the children in his class. Meaning that he could bring it up during the next council meeting, and from the hopeful look Yoshino was sending him, she had the same idea. Good thing we agree on this, Shikaka thought. Troublesome women can't get mad at me this time. Revenge and pancakes. Naruto, why are you staring at Sasuke's head? Shino had asked me that morning. I've been told that his hair looks like the ass of a duck, but I just don't see it. I answered. I'm beginning to think that those assholes lied to me. I mean, maybe if you squint and tilt your head a tad. Is this really the most important thing you had to do today? Shino asked. Also, perhaps you have to see it from the side instead of the back. Conversations like this had actually become quite common between me and Shino. It usually started with me asking some stupid question and him taking it at face value. Hey Shino, how many floorboards do you think make up this room? I've counted 172 so far. Or hey Shino, have you ever heard of Updog? Sadly he didn't fall for it, but Kiba did, so that's a win in my book. I can see it. Kiba, who sits in front of me, said you have to look at him on a diagonal though. It amazes me that these are the kind of conversations you guys have. Sakura sighed. Oh yeah, and Naruto, Kiba said as he tossed me a bag. I got those herbs you asked for. Another bag then came at me from the next row over. I've got the herbs too. Ino shouted from the front of the room. Perfect, Mizuki won't know what hit him. I said evilly. Hey Hinata, you're going to be free today, right? The Hyuga's face reddened, but she at least didn't faint. Why yes, Naruto, I can help. Why you Mac make the salves today? My grin widened. Perfect, Operation Blackboard is underway. Why do you do that? Sakura asked. Do what? You often say things are operations. Shino answered. For example, when we pranked the cloth store you called it Operation Anthill. Kiba let out a small bout of laughter and Akamaru yipped happily at that statement. To be honest, I don't really notice it. I admitted it's just a thing I do. Believe it? I guess it's just another strange habit. Shino said. Why? Because you do it without realizing. You're one to talk about weird habits. Sakura muttered. Taijutsu was both my favorite and least favorite class of the day. It's my favorite because I can actually run about without having to worry about having an asthma attack like in my old world, and it's a constant reminder that bit by bit I'm improving. Even before I had Guy's book I ran a lap around the village, but now that I know the best way to train my body the slight differences feel even greater. On the other hand, however, Go-sensei had a very strong hatred for me to the point where I was running 8 laps a day and was forced to do push-ups by the 100. Today, however, we were finally starting something different. Alright. Go-sensei had said you've all been in the academy for 1.5 years by now, and you've been learning the academy taijutsu. What? No, I haven't, and preparing your bodies ever since you entered. If by prepared you mean destroyed, I'd be inclined to agree with you. I thought dryly. So you're all prepared in the next part of your ninja education sparring. Go-sensei said, or that's what I would say if I didn't need your parents to sign a permission slip. She sighed as she handed out papers to all the non-clan kids. Unless you're part of one of the major clans in Konoha, you're required to have this signed by your parents. Lord Hokage doesn't want angry parents suing the school because their precious little snowflakes were injured. What if you're an orphan? A small brown-haired kid asked. Oh, thank God, I didn't want to have to ask that. Then you can sign it yourself. Go-sensei shrugged. Bring them in by the end of the week, or get kicked out of the academy. I guess even Konoha has soccer moms. I thought. Lunch that day had started off in the worst way possible. Oh, there you are, Blondie. Ami number 10 on my least favorite people list said I owe you some payback for what you pulled over the weekend. I'm sorry, but is your hair orange? I asked, confused. Shut it, loser. Ami screeched. It's all this dumb blonde's fault anyway. Real creative insults, I muttered. Oh, what's wrong, Ami? Ino asked innocently. Orange is so your color. Ami huffed. Well, at least I don't have to hang out with these rejects. Ami and her friends burst out in laughter. Rejects that can kick your ass. Kiba growled. Yes, you're right, you don't have to hang out with us rejects. Shino said. Why? Because you have your own rejects to hang out with. Ami's face grew red with anger. Whatever, I don't have to waste my time on you weirdos, she said as she stomped away. That was kinda pathetic. I said, how long do you think it took her to come up with those insults? 3 weeks at the least, Kiba said. How did you manage to dye her hair? Choji asked. I dumped dye on her yesterday. She managed to wash it off her skin, but the damage has been done. Ino laughed. Serves her right, Sakura huffed, since she keeps making fun of my unnatural hair color. Isn't her hair normally purple though? Shikamaru muttered. Well, next time you decide to prank on me, let me in on it, Kiba demanded. Actually, I was planning on pranking her again today. Shino, do you have the stuff I asked for? If you mean the tarantulas, then yes, I do have them, Shino answered. You're evil, Kiba said maniacally. Thank you, you're too kind, Ino said. I feel like I just watched two devils come to an agreement. Sakura shivered. I don't think you're too far off. I sighed. Hey Shikamaru, can we go with them? Choji asked. I want to get back at Ami for all those times she called me fat. Troublesome wasn't throwing her out the window good enough? Shikamaru asked. No, Choji said with smoke coming out of his nostrils. Fine, Shikamaru sighed. I'll tag along as well. What about you, Naruto? No thanks, me and Hinata are making the salves today, right Hinata? I asked. The Hyuga heiress's head was down ever since Ami had shown up. Put it immediately perked up after I said her name. Alright now, Naruto, she stuttered. I'll grab the SD stuff and then he head over to your apartment. I'll have to back out as well, Sakura said. If I become labeled a prankster, the whole plan for Mizuki-sensei kinda falls apart. Ino nodded her head, accepting the answers. Alright, then we'll all head over to the Yamanaka compound after detention, alright? Right. When I got back from detention, I was greeted by Hinata, who was shuffling nervously by my door. Hey Hinata, I casually greeted. Do you have the stuff for the salves? Yes, and Naruto, I have them right here. Hinata stuttered, holding up a small bag. Perfect, I said as I unlocked the door, then come on inside. Me and Hinata walked into the small apartment, and I smiled at the work I had put into it. It had taken me a few days to clean the place up, but I was happy with my work. The floors were no longer covered in dirt and ramen cups, I had cleaned up the cabinets, and I had even planted a small garden in the windowsill. Make yourself at home. Hinata took a seat at the table and pulled some stuff out of her bag, including olive oil, beeswax, and some glass jars. Alright, I'm ready. Okay, I stared at the ingredients for a second. Alright, you're going to have to explain this to me because I have no idea how to make salves. Oh, alright. Hinata said shyly. We will first do why you have a pea pot. I pulled the pot out from under the stove. Alright, so first you have to fill the pea pot abio about a fourth of the way. Is this good? I asked as I showed her the pot. Hinata nodded. And next I have to put the herbs and oil in a small container. I'll handle that part, okay? Hey, you're the salve expert here, not me. I shrugged. Hinata's face became even redder. Right, we will. Now we just have to wait for the water to boil and let the herbs infuse themselves together. Alright. The two of us sat in silence until Hinata let out a soft "I'm sorry." For what? I asked. You'd probably rather be out pranking Ami with Ino, Kiba, and the others than with me, she said. Well, I won't lie, I'd love to be pranking that bitch, I admitted, but hanging out with you is fun too. Ah, really? Hinata asked. Geez, this girl needs a serious confidence boost. I thought, yes, so let's stop talking about dumb, depressing stuff and start talking about literally anything else. Alright, Hinata relented. But what do we talk ABO about? Well, for starters, why don't try and guess what Ino's going to do to Ami this time? I suggested. With Ino and the others. So what's the plan here, Ino? Choji asked, because I doubt we can just bust into her house. Yes, she wised up after the third time I broke into her house, Ino said. It took her until the third time? Shikamaru asked, surprised. She's Ami Kiba deadpan. She probably thought that nobody would prank someone as great as her. That's probably true, Shino said. Why? Because Ami is full of herself. However, my tarantulas cannot enter her room with the window unlocked. Troublesome. It wouldn't even matter if the window was unlocked since Ami's busy doing her nails at the moment, Shikamaru said, pointing in Ami's room where she was in fact doing her nails. She makes me sick, Kiba said, disgusted. The rest of the group nodded in agreement. We could see if any of her other windows are open, Choji suggested. Shino, can your bugs show the tarantulas where Ami's room is? Shikamaru asked. My Kikaichu can lead the tarantulas, Shining answered. Why? Because they are trained to do so. You are both the coolest and creepiest person I've ever met, Kiba said, shocked. Ino, however, had a massive smile on her face. I've got a window open, she said as she stood next to an open window. Release the spiders. Ami didn't know why her parents insisted that she had to lock her window. Ami knew that Ino wouldn't dare prank her again after their talk that day during lunch. The blonde loser just needed to know who was in charge. It's her own fault anyways, she was the one who decided to hang out with such losers. Ami thought, come on, you've got forehead girl, the lazy bum, the fatty, the class creep, the pale-eyed freak, the mutt, and the reject. As if they could hold a candle to her greatness. Just then, however, Ami felt something hairy crawling up her legs. Her muscles tended as she looked down to see a giant hairy spider making her way towards her. Ah! Ah! The group in the trees, minus Shino, although he was grinning under his coat, was laughing hysterically as Ami ran frantically about in an attempt to get the spiders off her legs. Ah! Serves that bitch right, Kiba laughed. I feel like this is a fair punishment for what happened at lunch today, Shino said. Why? Because if one of my tarantulas bite her. Oh, it bit me. Since one of my tarantulas bit her, Shino rectified, her legs will sting for a good 3 months. Ha, serves her right, no one messes with the marvelous Ino and gets away with it, Ino cheered. I don't think marvelous is the right word, Shikamaru muttered. Wait guys, the show's not over yet, Choji, who had switched out his chip bag for popcorn, said. Oh my gosh, you're right. Ino laughed, she's trying to fight back. And losing terribly, Shikamaru added. You got any more popcorn? Kiba asked. It's in the bag, Choji answered. She won't be able to defeat my bugs with a simple broom, Shino said proudly. Why? Because they were trained by my clan to be durable. Dude, your clan is insane. Kiba whistled as a tarantula easily survived being hit by the broom's handle. How long do you think this'll go on for? Choji asked. Hours at best, minutes at worst. Ino answered honestly. I'm rooting for hours, Kiba said. Preaching to the choir there. Shikamaru agreed. With Naruto and Hinata. Making salves was actually a lot easier than I had first anticipated. Although the only thing that I did was boil the water and give the stuff to Hinata, but still I was helping. However, once we reached the 3-hour mark, I was starving and my stomach had loudly voiced its opinion as well. Oh, Hinata said shyly, I didn't notice the time. If why you're hungry, we could finish tomorrow. No way, I said. You keep going, I'll make us pancakes. Pancakes? Hinata asked. Alright, what the hell? These guys have chess and a track team and all this other stuff from my world, but these people have no idea about pancakes. I thought, how the hell do these people survive? Alright, well, it looks like you're going to try something new. Alright, Hinata said as she continued to make the salves. Now I'm no master chef, but even I can handle making pancakes with the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. Then add milk, butter, and egg and stir it together until the flour is moist. Then pour the mixture into the pan and make pancakes. That smells really good, Hinata said. Yeah, I may not be the greatest chef in the world or even a good chef now that I think about it, but I can handle pancakes, I said as I flipped it into the air and caught it with ease. But what is a pancake? Hinata asked. She's just sheltered and has never seen a pancake. She knows nothing because the world is nothing without pancakes. I refuse to believe that they don't exist. I thought, just trust me, I said as I put some butter and syrup on the pancake and handed it to Hinata. I turned around to make a second pancake when Hinata had said softly, thank you, Naruto. Oh, no problem, Hinata. I turned around to see that she had already eaten the entire pancake. You want another one? I asked dumbly. The shy girl nodded her head and I turned back to the stove. Hayashi Hyuga was not a patient man, so needless to say he was quite irritated that his daughter hadn't returned home at 9 o'clock like she's supposed to. He was even more annoyed when aforementioned daughter hadn't returned until 9:24. What exactly were you doing? Hayashi asked as Hinata entered. I apologize, father, she said formally, but I was at Naruto's house to help him with something. He says he'd like to give these to you as an apology. Hinata handed Hayashi a white box, and when the Hyuga head opened it up, it revealed a large stack of pancakes. Hayashi had to hold back tears. It had been so long since he had pancakes. The last time was right before Hinata was born. His wife Hinata was the best chef in the world and would make a full breakfast for the two of them every day. Hayashi's tears became harder and harder to fight as the Uzumaki's simple gesture brought forward so many old memories. Hinata, he said in his normal stoic voice, I want you to bring Naruto here tomorrow. I'd like to personally thank him for his gift. The girl bowed. Yes, father. Shursui and Itachi were sitting near a stream next to the Uchiha compound. So the coup is still going on, huh? Shursui said sadly. I guess those old bats aren't going to change their minds anytime soon. I'm afraid not, Itachi sighed, and I'm afraid Danzo is about to do something rash. Of course he is. Shursui sighed. You know, Itachi, you could really use a break. I'm not going to sign up for Uzumaki duty. Itachi interrupted. I don't even know why you keep suggesting it to me. You used to complain about it all the time. Yeah, the key word being used to, Shursui said. That's 2 words. Itachi sighed. You know what I mean, Shursui said. Just try it once, alright? Come with me tomorrow. Those kids are planning something big. If you don't like it, I won't bother you about it again. Besides, while you're on Uzumaki duty, you are excused from all ANBU activity for the day, so you'll have time to spend with Sasuke. Fine, Itachi relented, but just because of Sasuke. Score, Shursui said, pumping his fist. Trust me, Itachi, you won't regret this. I already do, the Uchiha muttered. Hyugas and meetings. Look, it's that boy, a civilian's parent had said. What's he doing in front of the school? Another had asked. Hurry up. Don't make eye contact, another parent warned. Do they think that I can't hear them or something? I thought cynically as I waited for Sakura in front of the school. The reason being that if Iruka or any of the other teachers caught me handing Sakura the salves, they would immediately think that it's a prank and they wouldn't use the salves. But in hindsight, I'd be willing to risk it if it meant staying away from these damn civilian assholes. I get it, you don't like me, just shut up about it. Thankfully, however, a head of pink hair appeared out of the crowd to end my suffering. Hey, Sakura. Over here, I said loudly. Sakura sighed as she walked over. Do you have to be so loud? No, but I need to make a scene for a second, I said. Wait, what do you mean you're going to make a Hello Sakura, my friend, I yelled as I handed her the bag. Here, take this gift and let's go meet with our other friends. I grabbed her hand and led her into the academy. Care to explain what all that was about? Sakura hissed. I, however, was snickering at the faces those bastards made. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I'm not exactly the most liked person in the village. Yeah, I've been meaning to ask about that. My mom's been going on about how you're trying to corrupt me or something, Sakura said. I snorted. Well, that's hardly the case, but I really have no clue why they hate me. I do know that they've been trying to keep me isolated since before I could remember. So I decided I should rub the fact that I have friends in their faces. You're really spiteful, aren't you? Sakura said. It's a gift. I shrugged. Sakura still had no idea how she had been roped into this. Just a week ago she would have been hanging out with Ino, laughing as she complained about Shikamaru's laziness or told her about the latest gossip, and declining Naruto's latest attempt to date her. But now her best friend was on her way to becoming as infamous of a prankster as Naruto, who had no longer expressed any interest in her, thank Kami for that, and the two of them had joined the greatest prankster group in Konoha. It's not all bad though, Sakura thought. Without Naruto constantly asking her out, Sakura learned he was generally a pretty good guy. Kiba was alright too, a bit louder than Naruto, but he and Ino seemed to get along fine. Sakura didn't really know Hinata that well, but she seemed nice enough. Shino was a bit weird but still alright. Shikamaru was every bit as lazy as Ino had said he was, but he and Choji were pretty cool as well and were probably the only reason she's still sane. Right now, however, Sakura was in the middle of what Naruto had called Operation Blackboard. Sakura had handed out all of the salves except for the Mizukis. Convincing some of the teachers to take it had been difficult. Irika-sensei and Igo-sensei had been easy enough, but when it came to some of the teachers she didn't know, it had become more difficult. When she finally did get to Mizuki-sensei, however, her hands were subtly shaking and her palms were sweaty. Mizuki-sensei, I'd like to apologize for ditching on Friday, she said as she held out the salves, so I made some homemade salves to make up for it. Mizuki gave Sakura a fake smile. Oh, it's fine, it isn't like you skipped any of my classes, he said. Sakura squirmed nervously, while I worked really hard on it. Mizuki sighed. Fine, I'll take it, he said, snatching up the salve. Now head off to class, I don't have all day. Sakura bowed politely. Yes, Mizuki-sensei. She then scurried off to the classroom, not wanting to accidentally blow her cover. When Sakura had arrived at the classroom, she let out a sigh of relief. Never make me do that again, she said. So I'm guessing it went well? I asked. Yeah, but your plan has one big flaw. Shikamaru yawned. How are you going to make Mizuki-sensei use the salve? My mind blanked. Sakura glared at me. Did you not think that far ahead? She yelled. Hypothetically, what would you do if I said no? I asked. Before she could answer, Irika-sensei had entered the classroom to start the day. Mizuki couldn't stand children. They were loud, annoying, and incredibly whiny. The brats at the academy were either too sheltered or too cocky to become actual ninja, and that was before Lord Orochimaru had him limit their education. It wasn't like the world would have been missing out on much anyway. The civilian students were so useless that they make cannon fodder look like Jonin ninja. The clan kids were either cocky, Sasuke, stupid, Kiba, lazy, Shikamaru, or some other degree of useless. So when a pink-haired civilian had given him one of her homemade salves, he had every intention of tossing the gift. That was until he had met up with Irika right before his class started. Hey Mizuki, he had greeted happily, have you tried Sakura's salve yet? It feels incredible. Mizuki sighed at his friend. A civilian couldn't make a proper salve. However, the temptation was there, and it only grew as he heard more and more good things about the girl's salves from the other teachers, until finally he couldn't take it any longer, and his curiosity got the best of him. He opened his desk drawer and took out the salve. I didn't quite know what to expect when Mizuki had walked into class that morning, but it certainly wasn't this. PFFF Mizuki was completely covered in red bumps. Most of the class was confused by Mizuki's appearance, while the 8 of us who knew what was going had a very different reaction. PFFF Shino was smirking under his coat, while poor Hinata looked both horrified by what she had done and on the verge of laughter like the rest of us. Hello class, today we're going to do something different. Mizuki deadpan. Today I'll be educating you all on the proper way to make salves. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Fahahaha. Our group of 8 burst out in laughter. Oh Kami, what did you guys do to him? Sakura wheezed. It wasn't much. Hinata said it was only a bit of poison ivy. That's what you put in there, Mizuki yelled furiously. Don't get too upset, Mizuki-sensei, I said innocently. It was my first time making them. I really thought it was a good idea. But look on the bright side. Yours was the only one that was poisonous, believe it? I don't believe it, Mizuki yelled. It was a tragic accident. Shino said we'll make sure not to make the same mistake again. At this point most of the class had clued into what was going on, and had begun laughing as well. We're all amateurs when it comes to herbalism, so mixing up the plants is a pretty reasonable mistake, Ino added. And none of the other teachers seem to be in your condition, so I guess you're just unlucky, Shikamaru added. Mizuki looked like he was ready to strangle all of us after that. See, what did I tell ya? Shursui laughed from the trees. These kids are pranking masterminds. What I find more amazing is that Naruto had roped in all the major clan members except for Sasuke in on this, Itachi said. You're missing the point, Shursui sighed. Fine, then let's talk about boring things. Then how do you think they'll do as ninja? Based on just one prank? Itachi asked. What is that? Something a prodigy like you can't handle? Shursui teased. Fine, Itachi said. Uzumaki seems to be the ringleader of the group. If I had to guess, he's the one who makes the plans. Itachi then pointed to Shikamaru. While he is the brains, the one that makes sure the plans actually work. The Akimichi and the Inuzuka would be the brawn, while the Yamanaka and Aburame would be used for surveillance. The Hyuga could also be a frontliner, and the civilian could be anything really. You never cease to amaze me, Shursui sighed. What I really want to know is how Uzumaki managed to round up so many people, Itachi said. It was actually kinda simple. Shursui said he made friends with Shino about a week ago, then he and his usual group of the Akimichi, Nara, and Inuzuka went out to prank a clothing store. The Yamanaka and civilian tagged along, and the Hyuga has had a crush on him for a while. Interesting, Itachi said. Mizuki had tried to put us in detention again, but Irika had stepped in to stop him. Since none of the other teachers were harmed by the salves, he believed us when we told him it was all an accident. I really can't believe we got away with that, Sakura said, relieved at lunch that day. Yeah, I don't want to know how pissed Ma would be if I got detention twice in less than a week, Kiba said. More or less pissed than Yoshino? I asked. Oh, that's a tough one, Choji said. Less, Ino answered confidently. All of you are dead to me, Shikamaru deadpanned. Did you think we went too far? Hinata asked guiltily. PSSH no, I snorted. Bastard just got what he deserved. By the way, Sakura said nervously, Ami didn't come to school today. You guys didn't do anything too bad, right? The group shared a look. She got exactly what she deserved, they answered in sync. You know, I'm suddenly a lot less curious as to what they did, I muttered. Hinata nodded her head in agreement before turning to me. On Naruto fa father wanted me to tell you that he wanted to personally thank you for the gift. Gift? What gift? I asked. Oh wait, do you mean the leftovers? Hinata nodded and I sighed. Geez, do you Hyugas really have to be so formal? I mean, I'll go, but you guys don't have to make such a big deal out of nothing. Oh, did I hear that right? Ino asked. You're already going to meet her dad? Man, Naruto, you work fast. Ino, you know that's not what I said, I told her irritably. But the blonde had cast me a mischievous smirk as she went to spread the news. She's going to learn to regret this. I regret this, and I'm not even the one in trouble, Sakura muttered. Why, you're not going to do anything to be bad to right, Naruto? Hinata asked. I blinked. No, I want revenge, but I'm not going to cause any long-lasting damage to get it. You won't be receiving any of my bugs for your prank. Shino informed me why, because it would be rude to use them against our friends. That's cool, I can't rely on you for all my pranks anyways. I shrugged. On a completely unrelated note, do any of you know where I could find a cannon, some water balloons, about a gallon of glue, and the angriest cat in the world? I really don't want to know what you're going to do with those, Sakura sighed. Everyone else nodded their heads in agreement. When I had arrived at the Hyuga compound after school that day, I was met with open arms and trays of cookies. That is what I want to say. In reality, however, I was met by the standard stoic Hyuga gatekeeper. Halt! What is your business here? I'm here to see Hinata's dad? She told me that he wanted to see me. He looked at a list. Oh right, Uzumaki. He spat head on in. But don't you even think about causing trouble. No promises, I sang as I strolled into the compound. Once Aegean, I was blown away. The Hyuga compound was freely a sight to behold. All of the houses were made in a traditional Japanese style, and besides some of the branch family members who were clearly unhappy about serving the main family, the whole place was like a giant suburban town. Some of the younger clan members were running about while their parents, either ninja or civilian, were keeping an eye on them. Some of the elderly clan members were playing shogi, and a very angry Niji had stomped towards me. How did I know it was Niji? It was actually really easy, especially when the first words out of his mouth were, "You are not fated to be here, leave immediately." He started to push me out of the compound, but I wasn't budging. I was expecting a warmer welcome than this. I deadpanned, especially when you were the ones who invited me here. Niji sneered, "Nonsense, what would the main branch want with a nobody like you? No, you are fated to be nobody." My eyebrow twitched. He's only said 2 sentences and he's already mentioned fate twice. Well, I guess that you're fated to show me where the main house is since I don't know. Niji scoffed. "I already told you that you aren't welcome here." I think that I hate you," I said emotionlessly. "Feelings mutual," Niji growled as he tried to push me out of the compound. "Now leave, damn it." "Okay, I'll leave," I shrugged, causing Niji to sigh in relief. To his ire, however, instead of me leaving the compound like he wanted, I had started to wander about some more. "I thought you said you'd leave," Niji hissed. I'm leaving the part of the compound you reside in. Now my presence won't bother you." "Were you even listening to me?" Niji yelled. "Oh hey Hinata," I called when I saw the shy heiress. "Don't ignore me," Niji yelled. "Oh he hello now Naruto," Hinata said, trying to be as formal as possible. "Fat father's waiting for you." "Wait, you mean that this nobody was actually invited here?" Niji asked. "But why? He's just some random guy. He was fated to be unimportant." "That makes 3, I deadpan. "How many times a day does he saw the word fate?" "I don't know," Hinata said uncertainly. "A lot?" "That's what I had thought," I sighed. "Anyway, could you take me to your dad? The fatalist over here doesn't want to." Niji scoffed. "Fine, perhaps you're a tad bit more important than I gave you credit for. But you're still fated to be a nobody." "That's for you really need help," I said. "Have you tried going to a psychiatrist?" "I'm not insane," Niji snapped. "I'll already tried to make him see one," Hinata explained. "It didn't end well." "Don't tell him that," Niji hissed. I, however, was writing down everything she was saying. "No, please go on, I insist." "And you! Stop writing that down." Niji had ditched us as soon as we arrived at the main house, but not before saying one last thing. "I don't know what Hayashi wants with you, but remember that you're fated to be a nobody." "And that makes 34, I sighed. "He really is the worst kind of person." He isn't that bad," Hinata defended. "Let's just agree to disagree on that one," I said. "Besides, I doubt that your dad's going to want to wait for much longer." Hinata nodded in agreement and led me to a large meeting room. "Father sh should be in here." "Alright, I'll be right back," I said as I strolled into the room. In the center was a large table. Hayashi was at one side and I sat across from him. "Hello, Hyuga sir." Hayashi nodded. "Uzumaki," he returned. "First, I'd like to thank you for your gift." "Don't worry about it," I said dismissively. "I had some extra and I wasn't going to eat them." Hayashi nodded. "I'm sure you're aware that wasn't the only reason I called you here, correct?" I figured. I sighed. "Then what am I here for? I don't remember having pranked your clan before, so." "No, it's not because of anything like that," he assured me. "Well, I'll be blunt, you've made friends with members of each of the big clans in Konoha except for the Uchiha." "Yeah, well, Sasuke isn't really one for conversation anyways." I shrugged. "And I don't speak Yukahanese yet, and HN isn't really the greatest conversation starter." "Ha! For all those Uchiha boast they are still amateurs when it comes to casual conversation," Hayashi said. "Anyways, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you're becoming somewhat of a big deal among the clans." I blinked. "What?" Hayashi nodded. "You see, recently there was a clan meeting." "Yesterday?" Hayashi's face was stoic as he sat in the large meeting room with the other clan heads. To his left was Tsum Inuzuka and to his right was Shibi Aburame. Also at the table were Shikoku Nara, Inochi Yamanaka, Chozo Akimichi, Fugaku Uchiha, Danzo Shimura, and of course the third Hokage. Surprisingly, before the Hokage could begin speaking, Shikaku had stood up. "Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but there's something I'd wish to bring up before the meeting officially starts." "Proceed," Hiruzen said. Shikaku nodded. "It has recently come to my attention that the academy has been compromised." That had startled everyone in the room. "And why do you think that?" Danzo had asked. "Well, it was first brought up when Shikamura had informed me that Mizuki had left out a key point during Genjutsu lessons." "So what?" Danzo sneered. "It was a simple mistake, nothing to fret about." Shikaku nodded. "That would be true if that had been the only case." Shikaku took out a stack of papers. "Yoshino keeps all of Shikamaru's tests in a folder at home. She had spent the day going through them, and found something interesting, to say the least." Shikaka handed out a pile of tests. An act of the clan heads took one. Hayashi's was a chart of elemental natures and their strengths and weaknesses. Everything seemed correct. Fire beat wind, wind beat lightning, lightning beat earth, earth beat water, and water beat fire. However, the chart was then changed to fire beat wind, wind beat lightning, lightning beat water, water beat earth, and earth beat fire. Next to him, Shibi's eyebrows furrowed and some growled. Next to him, Mizuki, you idiot, Danzo muttered so softly even some couldn't hear him. As you can see, some of the correct answers are wrong and some of the wrong answers are right. Shikaka continued. And all of the ones that are marked wrong are given somewhat realistic reasonings as well. Inoichi added. Not to mention that some of these questions would make no sense to an academy student. Some growled, it makes me so mad because now I don't know if Kiba's bad grades are because he's an idiot or because of this kind of stuff. Fugaku nodded in agreement. It is very concerning. If someone's been rigging the scores, they can somewhat manipulate who's the dead last and who's the rookie of the year. Or the top Kanochi. They can also make it so skilled students are kicked out while the hopeless ones remain. Choza added. Shibi spoke up next. Well, at least there's some good news. Why? Because the only tests I have found are for ninjutsu and genjutsu. Shikaka nodded. The other classes are all correct. Some let out a sigh of relief. Oh, thank Kami. Just thinking Nadago would abandon the pack makes my blood boil. Hiruzen cleared his throat. While I say that just to be safe, we have all the academy teachers go to T&I. Inoichi, how long until you and your clan can go through the academy's staff? We should be ready by tomorrow. Inoichi started, but he was interrupted by Danzo, who was very unhappy about this situation. I need more time, he thought. If they use mind walk on that dumbass Mizuki now, they'll learn about root. I need at least a day or two, so his death looks more like suicide than a murder. We might be dealing with a spy from another village. If that's the case, then they might have bugs planted among the students as well. Hayashi nodded. We shouldn't. If they are impersonating students, then I'd rather deal with this mess in the present than a bloodbath in the future. Inoichi frowned. It'll take a few extra days, but we should have it ready by Monday. Then it's decided, Hiruzen said. Come Monday, we'll do a full sweep of the academy. Flashback end. When I asked Shikaka why he had gone so deep into this, he had told me his wife wanted to do something for you. Hayashi said, it seems like you have a knack for making allies. 2 words for you, dumb luck. I said, I have no clue why they do this. I'm not complaining, mind you. I'll get him a fruit basket or something when I next head over there. I'm going to warn you, however, you also have a knack for making powerful enemies. Hayashi warned. Oh really? I asked. Who did I piss off this time? Please be Danzo, please be Danzo. Fugaku Uchiha, he doesn't seem to like you very much. Or what's inside of you, since he calls the damn fox the source of his misery. And just between the two of us, Fugaku is the most spiteful person I know. Damn bastard beats me in a sparring match one time, and he holds it over my head for the rest of my life. Speaking of things that you shouldn't be telling me, why in the world did you tell me about that council meeting anyways? Well, you see, Naruto, during that meeting I learned something. Hayashi answered. I learned that the Nara clan seems to like you. Meanwhile, the Hyuga clan, while not as bad as the Uchiha, aren't as social as we should be. Because of that, we aren't allies with any of the main clans in Konoha. So despite what the elders say, if we want our clan to strive, we're going to need to build bridges with the other clans. And even though some of our Hayashi frowned as he saw a branch house member serving a member of the main house, traditions are somewhat of a turn away, I believe it's still possible. A bit of a turn off is an understatement, I thought dryly. You literally turn them into your slaves. That's where you come in. Hayashi continued. Of course you won't need to do much since you and Hinata already seem to be friendly with each other. So I'm going to have Hinata ask you to come to the compound every once in a while, and once or twice you'll ask if your other friends want to come. You'll be building relations to the clan heirs. I realized. Alright, then you can count me in. To be honest, I'd probably do this by accident if you hadn't asked me to. Then it's official, Hayashi said, reaching his hand out. Pleasure doing business with you, I replied as I shook his hand. Shoji and Itachi. Considering how in the last few days I had entered Naruto Uzumaki's body, made friends with 7 of the other rookie 9 members, met the Hokage, pranked an underling of Orochimaru, and made a deal with a prestigious clan in Konoha, I was relieved that nothing huge happened that Thursday or Friday. Sadly, the calming atmosphere have me no help in my latest chess match against Shikamaru. I can't believe that you've been planning that move since turn 1. I grumbled. Troublesome, Shikamaru sighed. That's just the difference in our play styles. I like to plan ahead while you come up with things last minute. Yeah, I guess that's true. I shrugged as I reset the pieces, but I'm sure to win eventually, believe it. Out of everything you've changed, that vocal tick is still as annoying as ever. Shikamaru muttered. Itachi will never admit it, but Shursui was right. There was something oddly relaxing about watching the Uzumaki go through his day. Perhaps it was because it reminded him of before he became a ninja. The life he would have had if he didn't have to worry about coups and double crosses. But even though watching Uzumaki was relaxing, everything about the experience seemed wrong to him. Perhaps it was how the child was nothing like he used to be, or maybe it was his sudden boost in intelligence, but something was wrong. But as the young Uzumaki smiled genuinely as he greeted Yoshino Nara, Itachi figured that he was just looking too far into things. But he couldn't ignore the small voice in his head telling him that Uzumaki was not to be trusted. So Itachi figured that when he had time he would go on Uzumaki duty, because whether he liked it or not, Naruto had caught his attention. Shogi, or as I like to call it, Japanese chess, was a very strange game. For one thing, the pieces had the same names as they do in chess but behaved completely different. Needless to say, I was really bad at shogi. I win, Shikamaru said after a short 4-turn game. Yeah, well, it's a new record at least. I grumbled. I usually lose after 3 turns. We've only played 3 games. Shikamaru sighed, and I gave you plenty of openings. Shikaka smiled. Well, I'm sure you'll get the hang of it eventually. Oh yes, Shikamaru yawned. Naruto, you never told us what did Hinata's dad want you for on Wednesday. Shikaka looked at me in surprise and I cursed under my breath. Damn it, Shikamaru! Why would you say that in front of the smartest person in the of you crafty piece of shit? Oh, you know I had Hinata over. She ate at my house. I had some stuff extra and Hayashi wanted to properly thank me or something. From the calculating looks Shikamaru and Shikaka were giving me, either of them seemed to bite. All right then, Shikamaru shrugged, seeming to understand that was all I was willing to say. I was about to sigh in relief, but before I could, Shikamaru said one last thing. Oh yeah, aren't you going over to Hinata's again tomorrow? God damn it, Shikamaru! Shikaka smirked slightly as he saw Naruto's horrified expression as Shikamaru put together the last piece of the puzzle. So that's your game, huh, Hayashi? Shikaka thought, strengthening relations through Naruto? Smart move, though it's risky. But I suppose I could help you out a bit. You know, this is actually a great opportunity. Shikaka said Yoshino always says that we should be friendlier with the other clans. You don't think Hayashi would mind if Shikamaru came with you, right, Naruto? He knows. I thought, panicked. No, not at all. Wait, why do I have to go anywhere? Shikamaru asked. Would you rather have your mother make you do it? Shikaka asked. Both men shivered. It's troublesome, but I'd rather go to the Hyugas. I snickered as I made a whip-cracking noise, causing both Naras to glare at me. Ino had made a great mistake that Wednesday when she had spread rumors about me, and it was time to enact my revenge. Now I may not have a cannon, water balloons, or a gallon of glue, and I wasn't about to risk my arms to get Tora to cooperate with me, so I had to do the next best thing. I snickered when Ino had left the flower shop. This'll teach you not to spread rumors. Ino had been on high alert ever since Sakura had warned her that she was Naruto's next target. A small part of her had said that he was only making empty threats, but the rest of her was on high alert. So Ino slowly crept through the door of the flower shop at the end of her shift and looked left and right across the road. Ino had made one fatal mistake though, and she forgot to check the rooftops, and in the end that was the reason she was drenched with freezing cold water as she heard Naruto laughing. That'll teach ya. Ha! There's only one pranking king in Konoha, and that's me, baby. Ino's eyebrow twitched. So that's your game, huh, Naruto? Ino asked herself. Fine, then two can play at this game. If it's a war you want, it's a war you'll get, and by the end of it I'll be the new prank queen of Konoha. And at that moment, with the sole exception of 2 blonde pranksters, chills ran down the backs of everyone in Konoha. Itachi had grown bored after watching Naruto for the past few hours. After he had soaked the Yamanaka, he had holed himself up in his apartment, and to Itachi's surprise was studying Genjutsu of all things. The fox will make learning Genjutsu very difficult, Itachi thought, although it isn't impossible. It wasn't until the 3-hour mark that the alarm bells in Itachi's head sounded. Aegean Naruto quite obviously faked a yawn and closed the blinds to his room. Itachi's quietly summoned a crow and had it fly into Naruto's room. Itachi's wasn't quite sure what happened next, since all he heard was Naruto shout, "What the hell? How did a bird even get in here?" Followed by series of curses from the blonde, squawks from the crow, and thumps and crashes from the Uzumaki's furniture. "And stay out!" he yelled as the crow finally left. Naruto double-checked that the window was closed and locked before residing himself back into his room. That short exchange, however, gave the crow enough information to relay to Itachi. The crow pecked the branch of the tree in order to give Itachi a message in a code that only said Prodigy knew. The crow sent the message. Blue notebook saw words future, Uchiha, and wave. Now Itachi had gone from curious to determined. The alarms were blaring that something was wrong with this scene. Something was very, very wrong. However, once again a small part of him said that it could be nothing. He could be planning to play a prank on the compound. And in the end, that small part of him was what had brought him back to Uzumaki's the next day, bringing Shursui along with him this time. You worry way too much, Itachi. Shusui said he may have the fox inside of him, but he's still just a kid. It's just a bad feeling I have, Itachi said back as he searched through the house for the notebook. Naruto and Shikamaru had gone to the Hyuga compound, giving Itachi and Shursui a chance to scan the room. Where is it? Itachi asked, frustrated. Itachi, Shursui said nervously, you might want to take a look at this. Itachi turned around to see Shursui holding a blue notebook that had only the word future on the cover. What is it? Itachi asked, but his eyes widened as well as he read the title of the page. He gave Shursui a glance, and the other Yanbi gave a nod in return. Itachi hesitantly started to read the Uchiha Massacre. Time. Sometime between now and after I graduate from the academy. Place. Uchiha Compound. Casualties. All Uchiha sans Sasuke and Itachi. Itachi's hands shook as he read on. As the Uchiha's plan for a coup continued, Danzo takes drastic measures and desires to end the Uchiha clan using the loyal prodigy Itachi Uchiha. After taking Shursui's eye and commanding Itachi to murder his clan, although he allowed him to keep his brother alive, Shursui gifted Itachi his other working eye and commuted suicide. Shursui's foot tapped the ground nervously, and both his and Itachi's heart began to race as the prodigy read on. After slaughtering every last member of the Uchiha clan and forcing his brother to hate him, hoping that one day Sasuke would be able to kill him, Itachi joined the Akatsuki, and doesn't appear again until after the Chunin exams. Itachi, I don't think we should read any more of this, Shursui said nervously. But Itachi raised his hand to silence him and read the last section. Solution. Sadly, there is none. No amount of training will get me in Danzo's level, and even if I could find Itachi, which I highly doubt that I could, there's no way in hell he would believe a word I said, especially if Danzo had already given the order. The only real difference is one way Ibiki gets to torture me for hours on end, and on the other hand Itachi would gift me a swift, and, hopefully, painless death. All I can do for now is try to make friends with Sasuke so he doesn't become a brooder after the fact. When Itachi had finished reading, Shursui gulped loudly. Just what is this kid? That was way too accurate of a report to be fake. The fact that he also knows about the coup, and unless we're dealing with a ninja powerful enough to trick the Hokage, we're dealing with the actual Naruto right now. And even if the fox was influencing him, there'd still be no way he'd know about the coup. Itachi muttered, I think we should keep reading, maybe we'll find something else in here. I'd be surprised if we didn't find anything, Shursui mumbled. Me and Shikamaru walked up to the giant glorious gates of the Hyuga compound and was greeted by my good friend Niji. Hey! I called you here to take us to the main house? Niji gave me a look of utter disgust before switching to anguish and then to his normal stoic face. Yes, per Hayashi's request I'll be taking you towards the main house. Then it seems that I am fated to hang out with you and Hinata. Wow, did Hayashi insist you get more friends or something? I asked. He told you, I mean no, he did not. Niji rectified. I rolled my eyes. Whatever you say, buddy. I am not your buddy, Niji growled. Oh, by the way, this is Shikamaru, I said, ignore if Niji's outburst. Hey, Shikamaru greeted with a lazy wave. Niji looked like he wanted to strangle the two of us, but ultimately kept his emotions in check and started walking towards the main house, motioning for us to follow him. Is he always like that? Shikamaru asked. I sighed. From what I've seen, yes, he is. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, and we're going to have to hang out with him. Ugh, I know, I said. He's like that one uncle you never invite to things but still shows up anyways. I can still hear you, Niji growled. Wait, how would you know about that? Aren't you an orphan? Shikamaru asked. That's not important. With Shursui and Itachi. Everything we've read so far has checked out, Shursui muttered. Kakashi's graduation test, the situation in Wave, Sabuza's status as one of the 7 swordsmen, everything we've read has been 100% accurate, or it hasn't happened yet. Itachi finished, which is the most disturbing thing. I've never heard of any jutsu that allows one to see into the future, and a seer Kekkei Genkai is already in the hands of the Yondu clan in AIM. Shursui frowned. I know, I fought a missing nin that was a part of that clan, but his Kekkei Genkai couldn't see this far ahead, and it wasn't nearly this detailed either. Itachi turned the page and continued to read. Chunin exams arc, time, 6 months after graduation, place, Konoha, casualties, Hate Gecko, multiple ninja from the Sand, Sound, and Leaf villages. And the third Hokage. Shursui mouth hung open and Itachi gritted his teeth as he read on. After meeting the Sand siblings and being recommended for the Chunin exams, Team 7 passes Ibiki's test in the first exam due to Naruto's determination convincing Sakura that she shouldn't give up for his sake. After the test finishes and Ibiki explains the 10th question, Anko bursts into the room and takes everyone over to the Forest of Death for the second part of the exam. There's a lot wrong with everything we just read, Shursui said nervously. Itachi nodded. Before we talk about the big thing, I'd like to mention that he never uses I when he talks about himself in the summary of an event, but instead uses his first name. But when he talks about possible solutions, he uses I instead. I noticed that too, Shursui said, but I don't know what it means. More importantly, though, that casualty list is really unsettling. I'm more curious about how he's going to die, Itachi admitted, since it could be anything from assassination to old age. Itachi continued to read the passage. In the Forest of Death, each team is given one heaven or earth scroll, and over the course of 5 days collect the other scroll from one of the opposing teams. Once a team has both scrolls, they head to the tower. On the second day, Team 7 is attacked by Orochimaru of the Sannin. Itachi was only able to read on due to the fact that Sasuke was not a part of the causality list. After impressing the Sannin, Sasuke is gifted with an evil hiki, or as he likes to call it, a cursed seal. Itachi's blood boiled and Shursui took the book from him. Maybe we should read another part of it. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea, Itachi agreed. With Shikamaru and Naruto. So they figured it out? Hayashi asked me when he saw I brought Shikamaru along. I gave them nothing and they still pieced it together, I muttered. Hayashi laughed. Don't worry about it, I knew Shikaka would figure it out either way anyway. I'm just happy that he's willing to form connections. I said goodbye and went over to my small group of friends, finding that Niji was getting on Shikamaru's nerves with his fate bullshit, while Hinata sat aside too shy to step in. I'm just saying that as a clan heir you're fated to do great things and that you shouldn't associate yourself with a loser like him, Niji said. And I really don't care, Shikamaru answered irritably. Are you kidding me, Niji? I muttered. How many times? 43 since you left, Shikamaru said. It's troublesome, but he's even worse than what you described. Fucking Kami, damn it, Niji. Shursui flipped through the pages until he finally found something that wasn't bound to lead towards disaster. Kazekage rescue. 5 Kage summit? 4th fucking Shinobi World War? How far into the future does this kid know about? Alright, here we go. Journey entries, day 1. Itachi hesitantly picked up the book and started to read. Before today I was known as Ryan Terrace, 15 years of age, an anime enthusiast. Today, however, I am Naruto Uzumaki, 10 years of age, and ramen enthusiast. After careful analysis and guesswork, I've come to the conclusion that I am currently a combination of both myself and Naruto Uzumaki. With my brain and intelligence mixed with his body and memories. With both of our personalities merging into one. In more important news, I had bought a hoodie with an awesome red Uzumaki swirl on the back of it. Day 2. Wait a second, Itachi, Shursui said. Do you know what this is implying? Itachi nodded. Somehow this Terrace guy managed to merge himself with Naruto Uzumaki, whether accidentally or on purpose I'm not sure. That's if he isn't crazy, Shursui added. Oh, trust me, Shursui, we'd know if he was crazy, Itachi said. After separating Niji from Shikamaru, the rest of the day went pretty well. Until I found myself unable to move. I had no idea why until I heard a lazy drawl of shadow possession complete. Shikamaru, what's going on? I asked. Shikamaru yawned. Sorry, Naruto, Ino made me do it. You don't sound very sorry, and what do you mean Ino made do? Puff. A giant bag of flour exploded on top of me, covering my entire body with white powder. Our revenge is sweet, isn't it, Naruto? Ino asked as she walked into my field of vision. I stuttered. You can't get revenge on my revenge. That's not how revenge works. Oh, don't be a sore loser, Naruto, Ino said. You can save it for when I become the prank queen of Konoha. I gave her a sly smile. Oh, you want my title now, do you? I asked. You do know what that means, don't you? Ino gave me an equally mischievous smile. I think I do. Oh, please don't say it, Shikamaru begged. We're going to war, we yelled together. And they said it. Shikamaru sighed. We're all doomed. Shursui heard the small thumping of feet on the hardwood towards the apartment. Hey, Itachi, he's coming home. Good, Itachi said with the notebook in hand. He has some explaining to do. I had a smile on my face as I walked towards my apartment, thankful to have one more normal day before the entire academy is thrown into chaos on Monday. So I opened the door and was surprised to say the least. You have some explaining to do, Itachi said as he held my future notebook. At that moment, the only thing I could think to say was, why are you in my house? Complex truths and sinister plans. When Itachi had my future notebook in his hands, I was filled with panic. How much of that did you read? I asked. Enough, the stoic man answered. You know that really isn't very helpful information. I deadpanned. Did you see the big thing? You mean the massacre? Shursui asked. I groaned. Fuck, I rubbed my temples. Please tell me you didn't see anything else. We saw more than enough, Terrace, Itachi answered. Don't call me Terrace, I said. I don't go and call you both Uchiha. Wait, so you put your family name after your actual name? Shursui asked. Yeah, my name is Ryan and my family name is Terrace. It would be better if you called me Naruto though, I said. Is now really the time to be having this conversation? Itachi asked, annoyance evident on his normally stoic face. No, but it's the conversation I'd rather be having, I answered truthfully. But I guess you want answers now, huh? Yes, I want answers, Itachi said frigidly. First of all, who or what the hell are you, or why are you here? Well, I already told you that I'm Ryan Terrace. I've been stuffed in the body of Naruto Uzumaki by I dunno? Fate maybe? I shrugged. I don't really know why I'm here myself. I've just been kinda rolling with the punches up until this point. Do you really expect me to believe that? Itachi asked. These kinds of things don't just happen on a whim. Oh really? And how many times have you dealt with interdimensional travelers? I asked sarcastically. Itachi didn't give me an answer. That's what I thought. Now I get to ask a question. How much of that book did you read? That's not how this works, Itachi said. Shursui put a hand on his shoulder. Just tell him. He's been cooperative so far and I don't want him becoming difficult. Fine, Itachi agreed reluctantly. We read the first few pages of your journal, the massacre, and the first 3 arcs. That's what you called it, right? Well, we only read the first half of the Chunin exams, Shursui added, and I also saw a few arc titles. I let out a sigh of relief. That's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Then I looked Itachi straight in the eyes and told him, now do yourself a favor and don't read any further. No offense, but if you knew everything that happens in the future, you might try to change it. And not all those changes are guaranteed to be good. But aren't you also trying to change the future? Shursui asked. That's different. My very presence has already changed the future, I told them. And that brings me to my next question. How the hell do you know the future? Itachi asked. Well, how much do you know about multiverse theory? I asked. There's infinite universes, one for each and every different possibility, Shursui guessed. Bingo. Now imagine a universe where a manga exists that follows a certain group of ninjas for others' enjoyment, namely Team 7. You're kidding, Shursui said with his mouth agape. And I'm guessing you were a fan? Itachi asked. Well, yeah, I mean, I watched the anime, so not all of my information is 100% accurate, and as I change the future further, there's bound to be discrepancies. Itachi nodded. Fine, I have one last question. Are you planning on causing harm to Konoha? That depends, I said, putting the 2ANBU ninja on edge. Does killing Danzo count as harming Konoha? Because that is high on the list of things to do in the future. No, yes, Shursui and Itachi answered in sync. What do you mean no? Danzo is an integral part of the village, Itachi said. But he's Danzo, Shursui argued. My thoughts exactly, I agreed. It doesn't matter what your opinion of him is. Killing Danzo is treason. Those are the facts. He's going to put Sharingan in both his eye and his arm, I deadpanned. I'm sure nobody will miss him, Itachi rectified. Well, if that's all you needed, then I motioned towards the door, wanting nothing more than to be out of this situation. Not so fast, Itachi yelled. You know we have to report this to the Hokage, right? Or you know you could not do that, I suggested. I won't lie to the Hokage, Itachi stated firmly. You don't have to, I said, as long as he doesn't ask. Hey, you know Naruto, is there any chance that he's from another dimension? Or can Naruto see into the future? You don't have to tell him anything. It does seem a bit far-fetched, Shursui admitted. And if Danzo thought we knew anything about his plans, we'd have all of Root after our heads. Itachi sighed. Fine, we'll keep your secret, but only on one condition. You have to tell us about any future events regarding Sasuke. Sure, I answered. You'll either be dead or missing me by the time anything bad happens anyways. Shursui snorted. Not me, I'm not going to die twice. Tell me, how did Danzo get my eye anyway? I thought for a few seconds. I don't remember everything, but of what I can remember, Danzo didn't think your idea to end the coup would work, so he went after your eyes so he could end it himself. You were winning but were caught off guard since the old bastard already had a Sharingan. Shursui nodded grimly. So Danzo's already got his wrinkled hands on a Sharingan, huh? Yeah, and I would suggest not getting into combat with him. Your clan has a bad rep as is. You don't really want to add murder of one of the elders to the list of things people hate you for, I said. Shursui nodded and glanced at Itachi. I think we should leave. Itachi nodded. Before we go, I have one more question. Sure, what is it? I asked. At the end of all this, how does Sasuke end up? It's really rocky. The curse of hatred hit him hard. I said, but he ends up happy in the end. Itachi smirked. That's good to know. I let out a sigh of relief as the two ninja finally left my apartment. That went so much better than it should have. Thank Kami that out of all the ninja to discover this, it was the two that could be reasoned with. I took a glance at the notebook. I'm going to need to invest in a padlock, or something. You are too dangerous to keep lying around. I'm just lucky they didn't ask about anything too complicated. If I had to explain Obito, Pain, Madara, or anything in the war, I'd be fucked. 'Cause I barely remember the war. I sighed and opened to the next blank page. Day 14. I wish today had gone as smoothly as I thought it would. What do we do now, Itachi? Shursui asked. We continue on as if nothing happened, Itachi answered. But what about the massacre? Itachi grit his teeth. If it happens, then it happens. We'll try our damnedest to end the coup before it gets to that point, but if worst comes to worst, we'll just have to live with it. Shursui finished. But should we at least inform the Hokage about Mizuki's betrayal? Itachi shook his head. They'll find out about his secret tomorrow. There's no need to have the Hokage asking unnecessary questions. Itachi buried his hands into his face. I've been a part of the Third Shinobi World War and in 10-year-old. A dimension-hopping 15-year-old trapped in a 10-year-old's body who also knows the future Shursui supplied. Has single-handedly had me questioning my sanity after a single afternoon. Itachi finished. The life of a ninja, huh? Shursui said. I think I'm going out to drink tonight, Itachi muttered. I really don't blame you, Shursui sighed. How troublesome. Shikamaru sighed. So we're doing some sort of enemy ninja drill at the academy tomorrow. Yeah, that's what Daddy said at least, Ino answered. Why do we even need a drill though? Choji asked. Shikamaru yawned. It's just in case an enemy ninja infiltrates the academy. My dad said that we haven't had one since the Third Shinobi World War though, so either another war is coming, an actual enemy ninja is in the school, or the Hokage is getting overly paranoid. It's probably the third one. Ino said. Everyone would be in a panic if it were one of the first two. It's still weird that we'd have a random drill all of a sudden, Choji said, whistling away. Yeah, well, Dad said that it was no big deal, so we shouldn't have to worry about it, Shikamaru said lazily. Mizuki's palms were sweating as he walked down the cold, empty hallway of the root base. Danzo had requested to see him, and since he had heard about tomorrow's drill, he knew that it was because somehow his cover had been blown. When he entered Danzo's office, he was met with a single chilling command. Sit. So Mizuki did just that. He didn't look for a chair since he knew that immediate obedience meant certain death when it came to people like Danzo or Orochimaru. Now Mizuki, Danzo began frigidly. Do you know why you're here? The killing intent that was evident throughout the room made it difficult for him to breathe, but Mizuki was still able to let out a soft yes. Go on, Danzo commanded. My position within Konoha's academy system was compromised, Mizuki said as professionally as he could in that situation. That's right, Danzo nodded. Now for being so cooperative you get a reward. A root agent that was standing next to Danzo shunshined in front of Mizuki and stuck a needle in his mouth. Mizuki immediately fell dead on the floor. The root agent checked Mizuki's pulse and then nodded to his leader. He's dead. Danzo nodded. It's a fast-acting poison. Even just a small dose of the stuff can kill almost any ninja. I may not like Orochimaru, but I can't deny he is a genius scientist. Speaking of the snake, I should tell him that his spy has been a part of an unfortunate accident. When Orochimaru had heard of Mizuki's death, he was not nearly as upset as many of his subordinates thought he would be. Oh, is that it? He asked. That's nothing. I can have another agent in Konoha by the end of the week. That's not the only issue. The root agent that had been sent to inform Orochimaru said all new students are now required to take a mind scan by Yamanaka before entering the academy. Orochimaru shook his head. So I'll need a sleeper agent then? No problem, as long as Danzo does his part. They should infiltrate the academy by Friday. The root agent nodded. One more thing. Oh yes, I know, Orochimaru said, pulling out a tray of different vials. Here are my latest poisons and salves. They're all custom made, so only I'll have an immunity to them. The agent took a quick look at the vials before bringing his attention back to Orochimaru. All right, as per agreement, as long as you continue to supply us with your genius works, we'll allow you to have an agent in the village. Pleasure doing business with you, Orochimaru said dangerously. The root agent barely withheld a shiver as they shunshined away. Orochimaru then wandered down the halls of the lab, his new Akatsuki robes barely staying above the dusty floors. It looks like I'll need a sleeper agent. All of his test subjects leaped up in pure joy, hoping for a chance to see the outside world again. Whilst others who had already pledged their allegiance to Orochimaru shrugged, uncaring as to who was going to be cast away. I'll need someone young empty to attend the academy. The older patients slumped down in defeat, while the other rose up higher with hope evident on their faces. They'll also have to be between 7 and 11 years old in order to force them into the proper class. Most of the younger captives slumped down as well. Orochimaru then stopped at a subject's cage. It's a shame, I was going to put a curse seal on you, but you're just too perfect for this mission, so I'll have to try it on someone else. In a popular bar in Konoha. Holy shit! A very drunk Anko slurred. Itachi, is that you? How youthful of you to finally join us. Guy, who was somehow still sober after 18 shots, said. Yo Kakashi, who also had no right to be as sober, as he was greeted. Itachi and Shursui both took a seat. I'll take a bottle of the strongest shit you got, Shursui said. I'll take some whiskey, Itachi said. So what brings you here, Itachi? Asuma asked. Shursui visits often, but I didn't think you were a drinking man. He's not. Shursui shrugged. I just finally managed to convince him to come with me here. That really seems to be a theme with you this week. Itachi sighed, convincing me to do things I don't normally do. Well, if you did more, we wouldn't have this problem, Shursui joked. Itachi rolled his eyes and took a huge chug of whiskey. So nothing happened on a mission or anything? Kurenai asked. No, we decided to take a day off and went on Uzumaki duty, Shursui said. On Naruto, Guy said the power of youth shines greatly in him. Why, just last week he had asked me for taijutsu advice. The other ninja in the room stiffened before Shursui calmed them by saying, he's not anything like Guy, trust us. Itachi smirked. I doubt he'd be running around in a jumpsuit anytime soon. That's nice to know. At least having two guys around would be a nightmare, Kakashi said. Just wait a few years, both Itachi and Shursui thought. Inoichi let out a sigh of relief as he finally got everything ready for the drill. Tamaro. The fact that we even need to do this Aegean is amazing to me. I was sure that we'd have a bit more time than this before anyone tried to attack the village. But I guess I'm not the one who decided to attack. Man, whoever that is going to have a bad day, Tamaro. That of course is a lie, because Mizuki had already been murdered by Danzo and returned to his home, so it appears that he had died in his sleep. You better hope that your next spy's cover isn't blown as well, Orochimaru, Danzo muttered, or else this business deal is off. Late that night, Niji was wandering past one of the training fields trying to figure out why his uncle would want someone like Uzumaki, basically a nobody, into their clan house at any time. It didn't make any sense. Niji took a peek into the training field and saw Naruto repeatedly punch a tree. Yup, completely useless, basic, and unnecessary. Little did Niji know, however, that fate had a lot more planned for Naruto than anyone could have ever imagined. Pitfalls and spices. When Monday finally came, I was a lot more calm about the situation. The Yamanakas wouldn't be able to read my mind thanks to the Kurama, so nobody else should be able to learn my secret. I also thanked Kami that of all of the important characters I had to accidentally fuck over, it was the one that has absolutely 0 point in the story past episode 1. Filler not included, of course. So as I waited for class to start, I began to write in my journal, which I had learned to keep with me at all times. Day 15, I wrote, today is the day Mizuki is found out as the traitor he is. Which is both good and bad news. Good because Mizuki is an asshole, but bad because now I don't have a fail-safe for if I failed the graduation exam. I saw Shino enter the classroom and swiftly closed the journal. I really appreciate the friends that I've made here, but aside from maybe Shikamaru, I doubt that any of them would understand alternate universes and dimensional travel. Shino sat down next to me and I started the conversation as I always do. Hey Shino, don't you think that it's kinda dumb that paper beats rock? Before Shino could answer, however, Sakura butt into our conversation. Do you plan these conversation starters out, or do you just say the first thing you think of? The second one, I answered instantly. It depends on the size of the rock. Shino answered. Why? Because a small rock might not be able to penetrate the paper while a large rock would easily crush it. Well, the rock is big enough to crush scissors, I supplied. Then no, it does not make sense, Shino decided. Our conversation could not go any further because Irika appeared before us the second the last kid entered the classroom. His face was downcast as he read off of a document. The academy will be closing early today, Irika said as professionally as he could due to the unexpected suicide of Mizuki. After today's enemy ninja drill, you'll be let out early and classes will proceed as normal tomorrow. Then an older blonde man that I assume was a Yamanaka stepped into the room, formed 3 lines. He commanded civilian children to the left, orphans in the middle, and clan children to the right. I left to go to my respective line when the blonde man stopped me. Uzumaki, you go with the clan children. The Hokage already knows that you're not a spy, so it's unnecessary for you to participate in the drill. I shrugged and walked over to Shino and the others. I guess that makes sense. I thought I do have ANBU watching me 24/7 and I visit the Hokage weekly. They would have to know whether or not I was a spy. Why are you here, Naruto? Did you join a clan over the weekend or something? Kiba asked. I dunno, I lied, Gigi. I mean, the Hokage said that I didn't have to take the drill. You call the Hokage Gigi? Shikamaru asked. Yeah, I see him about once a week and he doesn't mind. He actually seems to encourage it. He lets you call him Gigi? Shikamaru reiterated. You see the Hokage on a weekly basis? Choji asked in shock. Yeah, is that a big deal or something? I remember it being a thing that I always did, I said with false curiosity. Naruto, you do a lot of weird important things for no reason, Ino said carefully. Like what? I asked. You make deals with major clans, Kiba started. You befriend all of the clan heirs in your class, Choji continued. You prank a man about a week before he commits suicide on the day the academy is reading everyone's mind, Shikamaru continued. And now we know you're having meetings with the Hokage, Hinata said. What? Sasuke asked in shock after overhearing our conversation. We ignored him, alright. How do you know the first one? The next two are coincidences, and I don't know why I meet with him. Shikamaru told us, Ino and Choji said, answering my first question. As for the rest, they are simply observations we've made, Shino said. Wait a second. Sasuke shouted, why are you making deals with Konoha's clans? You're not even in a clan yourself. Hayashi thought that I could use my connections to better relations with the major clans. I explained. You guys didn't tell your parents about that, right? I know Shikamaru figured it out, but it was supposed to be a secret. Everyone shook their heads and I let out a sigh of relief. Until I realized who else was listening. You're also going to keep your mouth shut, right? I asked Sasuke. Whatever, I don't care about what you do, he said. We continued walking until we reached a room filled up with fold-up tables and chairs. Wait here until everyone else is finished, the ANBU who was guiding us commanded. What a nice guy, I commented dryly. How long do you think this is going to take? About an hour or two at best, Choji answered. Fuyuak, I groaned. Alright, did anyone bring a board game then? Everyone shook their heads. No, of course you didn't. Well, I refused to sit in a room and do jack shit all day. That's what standardized tests are for, I muttered. Troublesome, you know he didn't even lock the door on his way out. Shikamaru said. I doubt that he would care if we left. Woohoo! Let's get out of here then, I cheered. Who wants lunch? It's like 9:30, Kiba deadpanned. Later then. A little later, the entirety of the Rookie 9, minus Sakura, had gathered in one of the unused training grounds. Alright, who wants to play ninja? Ino asked suddenly. I gave her a smile. Sure, I'll play. I called dibs on being captain though. Fine, Ino shrugged. I get first pick though. Choji. I'll pick Hinata then, I said. The small Hyuga blushed heavily before moving to stand behind me. Shikamaru Ino chose next. I then decided to be an ass to a certain angst master. I'll pick Sasuke next. What? Who said I was even playing? Sasuke asked. I did. Now get over here, we need even teams, I said. Fine, just don't get in my way, Sasuke huffed. How would I even? Never mind, I sighed, realizing I had asked for this when I tried to be his friend. I'll pick Shino next, Ino decided, which means. Get over here, dog boy, I called. What? Why was I picked last? Kiba asked. Luck of the draw, I guess, Ino answered. However, unbeknownst to me, she mouthed to him, follow the plan. Kiba growled and nodded as he and the rest of his team ran into the woods. Shikamaru sighed. Ino, what are you doing? What do you mean? Ino asked innocently. It's troublesome to explain, but you hate playing ninja, so why would you suddenly suggest a game? Shikamaru asked. Hey, all's fair in love and war, Ino said mischievously. Oh, Kami, Shikamaru muttered. You were serious about that? Serious about what? Choji asked. Me and Naruto are currently at war, Ino answered. A war to see who deserves the title of greatest prankster in Konoha. Naruto will come out on top, Shino said. Why? Because he's been pranking people for longer than you have been. Well, we'll just have to see who wins then, Ino said. Wait, how can you tell who wins? Choji asked. When one side forfeits, Ino answered. It will be going on for a while then, Shino said. Why? Because I doubt either of you would back down. Meanwhile, are you sure this spot is the best? I asked, because this is a pretty big training ground. Yeah, trust me, Kiba said, jumping over a large pile of leaves. Nobody would ever look for you here. Whatever you say, eh? I, however, made the mistake of not jumping over the leaf pile and fell victim to her pitfall. Fucking ow, really, Kiba? A pitfall? Who are you, Team Rocket? I don't know who they are, Kiba yelled, and it was Ino's idea. Of course it was, I sighed. Well, can you let me out of here? No, Kiba answered. I then heard footsteps heading away from where I was trapped. Damn you, Kiba. Sasuke sighed as he ran deeper into the forest. He just wanted to find a spot to train and be left alone to train. He was so close to being able to hit 3 targets at once, and he wanted to perfect it so he could show it to Itachi. But somehow he got sucked into a game of ninja with most of the kids in his class. As much as he despises the situation he's in, he knows he can't back out now. Giving up at such a simple and easy challenge would be unfitting of an Uchiha. So Sasuke planned to go along with this game and leave before the very next round began. That was until... You're out. Why? Because I caught you, Shino said monotonously. Why? But how? Sasuke asked. You were musing to yourself. Shino answered. I heard you through the trees. I need to leave now though. Why? Because I still have to find the others. Shino then jumped up onto the trees and ran off. Sasuke grit his teeth. Oh hell no. He thought I'm an Uchiha. We don't lose at anything. Sasuke decided to stay for a bit longer. Now that he knew who the biggest threat was, he knew to be careful. Little did he know that Shino had the smuggest grin on his face when he knocked the Uchiha down a few pegs. I hummed to myself as I sat alone in the ditch, quickly learning that there was no way to escape. 64 bottles of beer on the wall, 64 bottles of beer, take one down, pass it around, 63 bottles of beer on the wall. Hey Naruto, Ino taunted, how's the hole treating you? Bit cramped, I shrugged. Do you admit defeat? Ino asked hopefully. Never, I snapped, but now I have a question for you. How does it feel to know that you'll never win this game? What are you talking about? Ino asked. Well, since none of you managed to catch me, the only way you can win now is by jumping in here with me. I answered. Then we'll both be. I was cut off when Ino jumped down from above and landed right on top of me. Stuck, way to go, genius, now we're both trapped. But I still win, Ino said pompously. Oh really? I asked. I climbed up onto her shoulders and used her to boost myself out of the ditch. Because this is a victory in my book. Later, Ino. Not cool, Naruto, Ino yelled. But as my footsteps got farther and farther away, she began to realize that I wasn't coming back. Damn you, Naruto. It was nearly noon when the games had finally ended. Against my better judgment, I did go back and get Ino out of the hole she was in. Now do you guys want to get lunch? I asked. Shikamaru sighed. Fine, but only if you can pay for yourself. Yeah, I got plenty of money, I said. Since the Akimichi restaurants and Ichirakas don't overcharge me, I'm actually able to save up a bit of extra cash. What is that ramen place like? Shino asked. Why, I ask? Because you go there often and I want to know if it's any good. The real reason Shino asked that question, however, was because he was in only latest prank against Ino. Sometime during the 3rd game he had asked me about the prank war we're in and agreed to help me out with my revenge. Yeah, it's great, we should go there for lunch. You'll love it. Do we really have to get ramen? Ino asked. Let's just go. Arguing with him would be too troublesome, Shikamaru sighed. Yeah, I guess you're right, it isn't that big of a deal, Ino admitted. Once we arrived at Ichirakas, the 8 of us took a seat at the counter. I was a bit surprised that Sasuke tagged along, but when I saw him glaring at Shino, I figured he just didn't notice. As everyone began to order, I slipped a note to Im, and she gave me a mischievous smile. Meanwhile, after Shino ordered himself 2 bowls of pork ramen, Sasuke ordered 3 of the exact same kind. Shino's eyes narrowed. Actually, I changed my mind, I'll take 4 bowls. Why? Because I'm very hungry. I'll have 5, Sasuke demanded as soon as Shino was finished. Shino gained a sly smile. Actually, perhaps I'll need 6. 7, Sasuke said desperately. Or maybe 8. 9. But 10 could be. 11. But perhaps 13. This is sad, Kiba sighed. Actually, on second thought, I'll only need the 2. Shino decided. Alright then, 2 for you and 13 for your friend here. Ayam said happily. Sasuke was fuming, and that anger only grew when he did in fact get 13 plates of ramen that not only would he be unable to finish but he'd have to pay for himself. I'll show him. Sasuke thought. I won't lose to him, Aegean. Sasuke wasn't the only ones with ramen problems though. As Ino started eating, she noticed just how spicy the noodles actually were. Ack. So hot. She wheezed. She wasn't the only one though. Both Shikamaru and Kiba had met similar fates. I can't breath. Shikamaru gasped. Need water? Kiba cried. I, however, was laughing my ass off. That's what you get. Nobody pranks the prank king in Konoha and gets away with it. Na Naruto, was this really necessary? Hinata asked. Yes, 100% necessary. I answered. That's what you guys get for trapping me in that ditch. But I didn't trap you, Shikamaru rasped. Yeah, but I still didn't get you back for what you did yesterday. Shikamaru sighed and was thankful that this was the worst that would happen to him. When Sasuke returned home that morning, a giant smile came across his face. It still felt like a dream for him, but Itachi had a lot more free time than he used to. Sasuke didn't know that Itachi was taking Uzumaki duty, and that was the reason he wasn't being assigned all of the long-lasting A and B jobs that he usually takes. He just assumed that his big brother was so good at missions that he could finish them much faster than he used to. There was still a few days where Itachi is needed to tend to clan stuff, but now most of his time was free to spend with Sasuke. Hey Sasuke, Itachi said as the normally grumpy kid gave him a huge hug. What happened today? Oh. Well, we had this drill to search for enemy ninjas or something, and we got to leave school early. Sasuke explained then while Irika-sensei said that Mizuki-sensei committed suicide. Itachi frowned. So Mizuki was working for Orochimaru. He decided to kill himself rather than give up precious information. Then for some reason Naruto was allowed to leave with all the clan kids, and he's like way more important than he should be. I mean, he talks to the Hokage. Itachi sighed at the name Naruto. He really wasn't sure what to do in regards to him. Itachi knew that telling the Hokage the truth would amount to nothing, but letting someone with knowledge of the future roam free was a completely different can of worms. Then Naruto forced me to play ninja with him and his friends, and I thought I could win easy, but this one kid with a big coat and glasses tags me pretty much as soon as the game starts. Sasuke continued. Itachi had a small smile on his face as he listened to Sasuke talk. To be fair though, it's all thanks to Naruto that I can have these moments. Itachi. His father's voice boomed throughout the house clan meeting. Itachi rolled his eyes. Too bad they can only be moments, Itachi thought. Rivals and reinforcements. The next day was the day we finally began sparring matches, and I was both nervous and excited. The excitement came from finally being able to go all out in a class because let's face it, if Naruto couldn't take out civilian children with ease, Jinchuriki or not, there is no way he'd be able to survive all the shit he did. But I was also nervous because I have no idea how to fight at all. I know the stances that I'm supposed to use, but I don't know how they work. So I figured I'd just have to wing it. You know, I seem to be doing that a lot lately, I muttered to myself. It wasn't long until we reached the sparring ring. Ago-sensei cleared her throat. Alright, now listen up. We were supposed to start sparring matches yesterday, but due to certain developments we had to start them today instead. Choji Akimichi and Kiba Inuzuka, would you come to the center of the ring? Both boys entered the ring silently. You clan kids will go first so you can demonstrate how these matches work, understood? Yes, ma'am, they both said fearfully. Good, now begin, Ago commanded. The match didn't last for long. Kiba was too fast for Choji to catch and was easily thrown out of the ring by Kiba's swift attacks. Ago nodded and wrote a few things on her clipboard. Shikamaru, Nara, and Hinata, Hyuga, you're up next. Ugh, what a drag, Shikamaru muttered. Hey, I'm not going to hit a girl, so can I just not fight? He asked. Ago grit her teeth. If you're not going to fight back, then I hope you don't mind getting your ass kicked. Now begin. So sorry about this, Hinata said apologetically as she threw Shikamaru out of the arena. Ago sighed and wrote something else on her clipboard. Sasuke, Uchiha, and Shino Abirame, you're up next. Me, Ino, and Kiba immediately gained sly grins. Oh man, that's amazing. What are the chances of that? Ino asked. I'd say it has to be pretty rare, Kiba said. Wait, what are you guys talking about? Choji asked. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome. They're talking about how Sasuke seems to be obsessed with one-upping Shino. Finally, I can pay you back for what happened yesterday, Sasuke said excitedly. Nobody makes a fool out of an Uchiha and gets away with it. If you only knew how wrong you are, I thought. I won't apologize for upsetting you, Shino said. Why? Because we were only playing a game, and it's not something to get upset over. Oh, I'll show you, Sasuke said, determined to defeat Shino. Begin, Ago called. Sasuke began the fight by charging at Shino, who easily sidestepped out of the way. Sasuke then threw multiple punches and kicks at Shino. Sasuke could punch faster than Shino could block, and he landed a kick on the Aburame's chest. Shino was sent stumbling back, but he didn't exit the ring, so the fight continued. While everyone else was focused on the fight, I was looking everywhere else to see if I could spot any of Shino's insects. I smirked when I spotted a small army of ants marching towards the ring. Oh, Shino, you crafty bastard, I snickered. However, it seemed that I had underestimated Sasuke as he jumped into the air before the ants could reach him. Sasuke attempted a drop kick, but luckily Shino dodged it with a swift sidestep. Then, for seemingly no reason, Sasuke began to sweat the air in front of him. Now what's going on? Choji asked. This whole fight is confusing and hard to follow. Welcome to the world of ninjas, where nothing makes sense, I thought. Shikamaru sighed. There are flies circling him. Shino's probably using them as a distraction, Shikamaru explained. Is that even allowed? Sakura asked. I only said that there was no jutsu allowed. Besides, there's no real way to prove that glasses is controlling the bugs. For all we know, this is all one big coincidence, Ago explained. Oh, I guess that makes sense, Sakura admitted. Back at the fight, Shino took advantage of Sasuke's distracted state and landed a powerful gut punch, sending the Uchiha stumbling back. Shino didn't waste any time, and the second Sasuke stood up, he was swarmed by butterflies of multiple different shades and colors, both disorienting him and impeding his vision. Shino tried to throw Sasuke out of the ring, but when he got close, a fist popped out of the butterfly swarm and knocked Shino back once again. How did you know where I was? Shino asked. My clan's full of dojutsu users. I may not have the Sharingan yet, but we've been training our eyesight for our whole lives. It'll take more than that to disorient me, Sasuke boasted. Wait, how do you train your eyesight? I asked. I actually don't know, Sakura mused. Shikamaru sighed. It might just be a dojutsu thing, because I don't know either. Stupid Uchiha bullshit, I muttered. Sasuke took a second to glare at me before focusing his attention back onto Shino, who was quickly approaching him. A swift duck protected him from the first strike, but he was unable to dodge the leg sweep that came right after. Sasuke stumbled back to the edge of the ring, and Shino charged in an attempt to end the fight. Sasuke got back on his feet quicker than Shino expected, however, and an unexpected roundhouse threw the Aburame out of the ring. Sasuke Uchiha is the victor, Ago called. Shino sighed when unexpectedly Sasuke reached out to take his hand. I knew you wouldn't win against me, but you were still a pretty decent fight. Shino took his hand and Sasuke lifted him off the ground. Yes, well, I suppose we don't really know who's stronger. Why? Because the no ninjutsu rule limited both of our capabilities. Sasuke smirked. You, me, Uchiha compound after school. I want a rematch. Shino nodded. I'll be there. The two left the battlefield and Ago called the next two names. Since we don't have an even number of clan heads, I'll have to pair Yamanaka with a civilian, Ago explained. So would Ino, Yamanaka, and Ami Kuma step into the ring? Wow, is today full of perfect outcomes or what? I asked. Yeah, it's like it was planned or something, Choji agreed. Maybe Ago-sensei was also tired of Ami's bullshit and decided that this was the only chance she had of seeing the girl getting the shit beat out of her, Kiba suggested. It was actually a random outcome, Ago explained. However, I won't deny that I'll enjoy watching that little brat get her comeuppance. Hump, do you hear that, Ino? She thinks you're a brat, Ami sneered. She was talking about you. Just about everyone yelled. Ino smirked and cracked her knuckles. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. As I watched Ino demolish Ami, I couldn't help but wonder how much Ino's personality change would affect canon. Ino had started the fight with a punch to the chest which had connected easily. Quickly learning that she had no chance of defeating Ino, she ran away from her frantically. Her chance of escape, however, was futile, as Ino was simply too fast for the bully to escape from. She was hit by a barrage of leg sweeps, gut punches, roundhouse kicks, and punches in the face. As I watched the onslaught, however, I found myself wondering if any of these small changes would affect canon in some way. I already know that I fucked up canon in one way, since Shursui would have to be an absolute dumbass to die to Danzo after I warned him. Ah, not the face. Yes, the face, Kiba cheered. Fuck canon, this is definitely the preferred outcome. Isn't this a bit much? Sakura asked. No! Everyone including Hinata yelled. Go blew her whistle. All right, you've had your fun, now let the girl go. Ami limped out of the ring and winced both from the pain and the lack of sympathy from her peers. Meanwhile, Ino was being congratulated by her group of friends while Ami could spot her own rooting against her. Sensei, I'd like to go to the bathroom. Sighed, fine kid, but head over to the nurse right afterwards. Ami nodded and limped back into the academy. You didn't do anything too bad to her, right, Ino? Sakura asked. Ino looked at her appalled. I'm not a monster, Sakura. Sure, I hate her, but I wouldn't actually try to hurt her. We were sparring, so things were bound to get a bit rough. Yeah, I guess you're right. Sakura said. I'm going to check in on her anyway. Well, have fun with that. I said absent-mindedly. Now which one of these kids are going to be my victim? Sakura rubbed her temples and silently headed inside the academy. Ami had always thought of herself as a pretty popular girl. She thought she had everything she ever needed. She thought that every guy wanted her, and every girl was jealous of her. It was truly amazing how a single day destroyed her entire worldview. She thought that she was above everyone else, when in reality she was at the bottom. She was beneath Choji, who she had called fat. She was beneath Shikamaru, who she thought was lazy, beneath Hinata, and Shino, and Kiba. She was even beneath Naruto. Somehow the dead last had become more popular than her. Ami looked at herself, and instead of showing pride, her face was ridden with disgust. It wasn't because of her hair, which was still dyed orange, and it wasn't because of the numbs and bruises that now covered her body. In fact, Ami didn't really know why she felt disgusted. All she knew was that she couldn't bear to look herself in the eyes. That was the state she was in, broken and sobbing, when Sakura found her. Ami? Are you in here? Oh great, what do you want? Ami asked. Sakura sighed. Hey, I'm sorry. For what? Ami asked. What do you have to be sorry for? If anything, I should be the one apologizing. Look, Sakura said, my friends can be a bit intense, and I know Ino didn't mean to hurt you. That's not it. Ami cried. I don't care that she hurt me. It was a sparring match and I lost. It's no reason to get upset. Then why? Sakura asked. Ami hugged her knees. Mom and Dad said I was perfect. They said that there was nobody better than me, and I really did believe that. And maybe if it were just you guys cheering, I could have shook it off. I might have said, oh, look at the losers, so proud of themselves, or something like that. But the whole class was rooting against me. Sensei was rooting against me. My friends were rooting against me, and it just really hurts. Sakura grit her teeth, not really sure what to do. Just the other day this girl was insulting her, and now she had to comfort her as Ami sobbed on the bathroom floor. Well, I'm sorry, Ami croaked. Huh? I'm sorry I made fun of your hair, she said. It was just so pretty. Sakura blushed slightly. What do you mean by that? Your hair is much prettier than mine, Ami said, but I thought I was perfect, so I didn't want you to think your hair was nice. I was jealous. I made fun of Shikamaru because he's smarter than me. I made fun of Ino because she's more popular than me. I made fun of Hinata because she's nicer than me. Ami laughed as tears rolled down her face. I was even jealous of how Naruto could be much happier than me. I'm not perfect, I'm not even average. Sakura gave her an awkward hug, unsure of what else she could do. What are you doing? Trying to make things better. Sakura said. Is it weird? Yes, it's weird. Ami deadpanned. Sakura laughed. I don't really get why you're jealous of us though. We're just a bunch of friends hanging out. Could I be your friend? Ami asked. I don't think I have any anymore. Sakura bit her lips. Sure, but you have to promise to be nicer. I promise. The rest of the day was boring and uneventful, with Mizuki dead to go, and Irika had to fill in for his classes. Irika was still a bit out of it, but seeing as he bounced back relatively fast from his betrayal in canon, so I'm sure he'll be back to normal sooner or later. But the real fun began once school ended. After Shino joined in me and Ino's feud, everyone wanted to take part in it. Well, almost anyone, that is. Sasuke decided to stay neutral, and Shikamaru felt obligated to help Ino after the whole ramen incident. Choji was also on their side to keep the Shiki-Ino-Cho trio together, and Sakura was obviously also on Ino's side. With me, however, was the aforementioned Shino, Kiba, who unlike Shikamaru had already gotten me back for the ramen prank by using a pack of Inuzuka dogs to wake me up at 5 in the morning. And even though Hinata wasn't usually a prankster, as an active supporter of all things Naruto, she immediately took the chance to join my team. We had agreed to keep our fighting outside of the academy, but the second the bell rang, and we left the gates, everything was fair game. A lesson that I learned a tad bit too late since I had been covered in a black powder the moment I stepped out of the academy. What in the world is teochew? This stuff? I asked. Kiba sniffed the air. Achu. That's definitely a kimchi pepper. Damn, they were one step ahead of us. I grumbled. I guess I should have expected that with Shikamaru on their side. Well, what do we do now? Hinata asked. We have to counterattack. I answered. Shikamaru will be expecting us, so we'll have to do something. I smiled, sinisterly unpredictable. Alright, what's the plan? Kiba asked. I took out a book titled A Beginner's Guide to Medicine. I found this in the library. I figured that knowing how different medicines worked would help me out when I started making poisons. That makes sense. Shino said. Why? Because medicines and poisons are made in a similar way. Exactly, I said, but more importantly, I found these in the center of the page was a round white pill, and around it were a list of ingredients and steps to make it. This drug can put any person to sleep instantaneously. Doctors usually use it for surgeries, but if we can get Team Ino to take some, it would be the perfect revenge. Kiba finished with a savage grin. You guys are weird, said Sasuke, who had watched the whole thing. Whatever your input doesn't matter anyways, you're neutral, remember? I said dismissively. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Whatever, I'm heading back to the compound. Shino, you promised me a rematch, remember? Shino nodded. Yes, I remember. I'll help you out with your revenge tomorrow then. It's fine, it would take a while to get all the stuff ready anyways. Not to mention we have to find a way to trick Shikamaru, and that's a whole other can of worms. I said. Right, I'll see you tomorrow then. The next day finally rolled around and me and Shino took our usual seats. So how was the match with Sasuke? I asked. I won, Shino answered honestly. Why? Because he tried to fight me without burning any of my bugs, so he couldn't go all out. So same problem as the sparring match, huh? I asked. I guess it makes sense. Unless you have a way to make those things fireproof, I don't see how you two could really go at it. Fireproof, I'll have to look into that. Shino mused. It was then that everyone's least favorite person decided to make her presence known. However, there was something clearly different about her. While she normally showed a disgusting amount of self-confidence and pride, she now seemed nervous, and while she usually wore expensive outfits, today she wore a simple t-shirt and shorts. But most surprisingly was that she had dyed her hair orange. Either that or Ino pranked her again, since all of the purple blotches that appeared from Ami's last attempt to undo Ino's prank had disappeared. She then startled us further by bowing and saying, I'm very sorry for how I treated the both of you, and I hope you could forgive me. At that point, everyone in the room was staring at her with their mouths agape as Ami went from row to row apologizing to her past victims before sitting at her desk with an incredibly red face. That was weird, I said. What do you think got into her? Perhaps she wanted to do something different, Shino suggested. Yeah, I guess. Hey, wait a minute, I said when I realized just what Shino told me. That was my line. I have no idea what you're talking about, Shino said stoically. Shino, you're my best friend, but I really hate you sometimes. I sighed. Sure, sway and trust. You know how you can tell something big is going to happen, Shino? I asked. I have a few ideas, but you should just tell me. Why? Because knowing you, they're all probably wrong, Shino said. Humph, you're no fun, I pouted. You can tell something big is going to happen when you've only just woken up and you have absolutely no idea what's going on. That isn't true, Shino said. I never know what's going on with you, and sometimes days still manage to be average. Shino, you have no idea just how insulting that is to me. I sulked. Hey, do you guys know what the hell happened to Ami? Kiba asked. She just bowed and apologized to me. Maybe she's up to something? Ino suggested. Oh, she's definitely up to something, I agreed. Or she could be sincere? Sakura suggested. No, that's impossible, we all said in sync. Sakura sighed. You know something, don't you? And then jumped at Shikamaru's sudden question. Yeah, I do, Sakura admitted. How'd you figure it out so fast? You came to Ami's defense almost immediately. Shikamaru answered. You had no reason to do so unless you knew something we didn't. Look, Ami told me some really personal things yesterday. She wants to be a better person, but nobody believes her because she's been such a terrible person, Choji finished. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. I say we just give it some time. Keep Naruto and Ino busy pranking each other so they can't torment Ami. Well, how do we do that? Choji asked. Easy so far. Both Naruto and Ino have been exclusively pranking each other, instead of pranking the other's team. We need to broaden our horizons and bring this war to the next level. Shikamaru answered. That sounds like it could backfire horrendously, Sakura said. Shikamaru shrugged. It'll make our lives a bit more inconvenient, but it will keep them off Ami's back. Why would you even want to help her? Sakura asked. She tormented you and Choji just like the rest of us. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome. According to Ino, Ami tormented you more than the rest of us. If you think she changed, I'll trust your judgment. Not to mention she might not survive the combined efforts of Ino and Naruto, Choji added. Yes, that too, Shikamaru agreed. Don't say things like that. Sakura shivered. Just the thought of it sends shivers down my spine. Kiba snorted and rolled his eyes before tapping Shino and Hinata. They're planning on pranking one of us. Kiba whispered we should prank them first. Shouldn't we let Naruto know? Hinata asked. He would like an excuse to prank Ino's team. No, this doesn't have to involve him, Shino said. Why? Because this is our chance to show off. Besides, I'm sure Naruto would be happy to take a short break. Naruto happy? Hinata whispered. Let's do it, she said with the utmost determination. Kiba snickered. You sure changed your mind quickly, Hinata. Ah, Hey, don't worry, I'm just messing around. Kiba said we should be more focused on how exactly we're going to get revenge on our friends who actually haven't done anything yet. I've already got a few ideas, Shino answered. It's called Operation Waterboy. I have Ino a deadpan look. They do realize that they are discussing this plan inches away from us, right? So what? Ino asked. It'll be nice to sit back and watch the chaos instead of being part of it. I'll agree with you there. Question is who's going to be pranked and who'll be the pranker? Are you serious? My team is going to cream yours, Ino said cockily. Are you willing to bet on that? I asked smugly. Yes, actually I am, 50 Rio on my team, Ino declared.